If you're interested in learning more how HeadCheck can help your team or organization, please visit headcheckhealth.com or email info@headcheckhealth.com. That's headcheckhealth.com or info@headcheckhealth.com and tell them TR sent you.
Why do you hang around with the worst crowd, the worst crowd? It's gonna hurt me, 'cause you're with the worst.
Welcome to episode 3 of Third Man In. It is All-Star Weekend. We have no idea what is going on. I actually didn't even know that the skills comp was last night, because normally last few years it's been Saturday. But they moved it to Friday night, and I was like, oh shit, I'm missing it. And then rushed home from like my 14-hour day on set.
I've got the Center Ice, the Center Ice web app where you can watch all these hockey games and stuff like that. And I had to, I watched maybe 30 seconds of the skills comp last night, if that. But I had to steal it from a Reddit stream because it's not even on the NHL's own app. I thought that was hilarious.
Well, I mean, that's that whole thing with licensing. It was on the Sportsnet and NHL on NBC, so they're trying to direct people there. Did you check it out? No, you didn't, because we are sitting here, everybody, with Mount Pearl's Male Athlete of the Year, Mr. Terry Ryan. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I had a night. I took up my daughter, Penny Lane, with me and was fortunate enough to win. It's great. Mount Pearl is a real tight community, and it's sport influence, is all over the island. We go to a lot of tournaments, and, if we don't win, there's a lot of volunteers. It's kind of, if anybody out there has been to Kamloops, it reminds me of Kamloops in BC. There's a lot of tournaments hosted there, sort of thing. So we take our sports seriously, and every year there's a Male Athlete of the Year, Female Athlete of the Year, Team of the Year, which was the Mount Pearl Junior Blades, who went 26-1-1, and went on and lost in the Atlantic Championship to Nova Scotia 4-1, but a great year. And then there was they have Coach of the Year. They have I believe it was Margaret Tibbs or Thibault, I believe. And then they have Hall of Fame inductees. Last night was Cindy Greening and Lana North Burns, two unbelievable female athletes. So it's nice to be a part of. Like I said, I grew up in Mount Pearl, and I'm real proud of it. It's a tight community. So, it might sound funny to be Mount Pearl's Athlete of the Year, it's small time, but we take it, I'm not going to say seriously. I wasn't upset if James O'Brien, who's 20 and played hockey with my stepson, had won it. I just mean we all go, the inductees, you tend to go there. If you're asked to go, you go up, and it's a well-attended event. It's sold out every year.
Yeah, I saw some of the stuff on your Instagram and stuff. It looked like it was a great event,
really an awesome
a great gala.
time. Yeah. And it's funny because I hadn't won it in a long time, and I get mixed up. They inducted me to the Hall of Fame in 2012. So I guess they figured it was time to shut her down. They were giving me a message. but even in my draft year, I didn't get it. I got drafted the Montreal Canadiens, which is funny because that was part of my speech last night. I really do prefer it now, because I'm older and I wouldn't expect to get it now. But it's a team thing. I was the reason I got it. I still play senior hockey here, which is I've been to some places, and when I say senior hockey, it's 60-year-olds out there. This is a lot of ex-pros. CIS, major junior guys.
One of whom we'll be chatting to today.
Yes, you're right. Arron Asham was an import. We fly people in to play. We pay them. It's a whole crazy story. But anyway, I played for the St. John's Caps last year. Now, I won the scoring by 1 point. But my buddy Jeremy Barron, who played on my line, he missed 2 games, and he was second in scoring. So, timing, and B, you got to have good teammates. Another reason was the Newfoundland Black Horse ball hockey team. And in the summer, we came second. Of course, I'm on that team with guys like Zach O'Brien and Marcus Auer from the Growlers, with Justin Pender, who played years of pro, Patty O'Keefe, one of the best ball hockey players in the world, also from Mount Pearl. So, there, and then, from there, and we won the Masters as well. So in September, I went to the Masters World Ball Hockey Championships in Bermuda.
I'm just going to jump in here. There's a couple Labrador boys on that team, aren't there?
Sometimes there are. We didn't use them this year, but there often are. Andrew
It's Doolin?
Jeez, of course, because Andrew LeDrew, I always get them mixed up. Andrew Doolin is a great player. Scotty Clark. There's a bunch, actually.
And
over
of course,
the years.
From my hometown, quite possibly the greatest ball hockey player in the country, Mr. Jeremy Bishop.
Well, this is where I was going. Yeah. So.
I didn't mean to cut you off then.
No, you didn't cut me off. Yeah. Actually, it was as if we had it planned, and we didn't. But that's what I'm saying.
We clearly didn't, based on the last 30 seconds of back and forth.
Well, with Jeremy,
yeah,
we went to the World Ball Hockey Championship. So because we won the Nationals, and this is over 35, but I also played in the other division with those guys, those younger guys, and we came second. But in the Masters, we won the Nationals, Team Newfoundland. So they picked a few of us. We go to the World Ball Hockey Championships, and it's in Bermuda. Now, I had a great term in the final game. I think we won 4-1, and I had 2 goals and an assist. I got MVP of the tournament, but Jeremy Bishop, and I said this last night, Bishop got top forward. It was a toss-up. Either one of us could have got either award, but one of us is usually not complete without the other. And and I should shout out to Pedro Cabral as well, our other winger who's from here. They were smart enough to put 3 Newfoundlanders together. But that's what I mean. So like my winning it last night was really the result of those teams. I'm not trying to be cliche and humble about it. That's just the facts are that, I happened to land on a couple of real great teams with players who are as good or better. And, I came up on the side of the Athlete of the Year this year. But I should mention the other two. Levi Moulton is a great swimmer and track and field guy from Mount Pearl. And he just missed being Rookie of the Year in the AUS. And James O'Brien kind of had the same resume I did. He was Mount Pearl Junior Blades. He played on the team I talked about. He led it in scoring as a defenseman. And he also played in the under-20 ball hockey world championships with Canada, and they lost. So sometimes it's just the flip of a coin. But I do want to give a shout-out to those guys and also the city of Mount Pearl, whoever was responsible for picking me, because it's a subjective award. Either one of us could have won.
Well, again, congratulations to you for it, and of course to everybody else nominated, and everybody involved. Because I know, because is it like part of the Frosty Festival? I know they have their whole winter festival thing.
It used to be, and now it's
because
become,
that's like in February or something. Yeah, now, right?
Yeah. It's almost like a high school reunion sort of thing. I mean, a lot of these people, as I get older, I don't get out as much, and there's people up there 55, 65, 70, 75 years old. So I'm sure for them it's a time of year. It's like Christmas. They're not going to miss it. They're always there. And they make up the nucleus of what Mount Pearl kind of sport is. So there really seems to be a change or a passing of the torch every year. It's something that, I've lived in a lot of communities and I've worked in a lot of communities. And I wouldn't say only in Mount Pearl, but it's fairly unique in the flavor that we got in there in the sports culture, which is great. It gives motivation for kids too. And we got a great charitable program. And those, I don't remember the names of them, but contact the city of Mount Pearl, where, for example, you donate equipment. And hockey is probably the biggest example. It's an expensive sport to play. Mm-hmm. So, there are those programs available, and everybody takes part.
I had no idea Mount Pearl was such a fit part of the island. I think it's got to be all the hills. Sorry, I had to.
It's just coming in and out of Commonwealth. Yeah.
Well, it's on the go. Mount Pearl is essentially, it's... My house where my parents live was the 4th or 5th house in Mount Pearl. It was like almost a summer home. That was in the 50s. So Mount Pearl just became people that moved into town for, job purposes or whatever. It became younger and, now it's a little bit of a mix. But there are a lot of younger subdivisions still going up. And it's got that outdoorsy kind of, feel to it.
And I mean, the other thing, like you said, with hills, is that Mount Pearl is a weird city in that it's can only go up. St. John's has it completely fucking surrounded, and now the only way they can expand Mount Pearl is just to go straight up.
We didn't have an elevator till it's a city. We didn't have an elevator till a few years ago.
Yeah, and now, well, I think was it last year somebody did an ATIP request and found out how many escalators are in the island, and it's like. It's a sadly low number.
Yeah,
it's like it's in like the 20s, I think on the entire province,
or something
like that. And
6 of them in the Avalon Mall.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, 3 of them in the airport. Right.
I can tell you, there's none in Labrador.
The 4 in the airport, 6 in the mall. Another few at the village. It's a whole thing. But let's get into our Bob Cole "Oh Baby" moments of the week. Of course, this is something we started on the 2nd episode, so it's going back almost the whole way to just this episode 3. This is silly, but it's the Bob Cole "Oh Baby" the moment. It is something that made us go, "Oh baby." What we're gonna do this week is we're each gonna pick one, and then we're gonna choose which one of those to talk about. So, Charles, you have one?
I've got one. This one literally made me shout. Well, not "Oh baby." I shouted some curse words from the Chesterfield this week when I read this report that Pavel Datsuk's agent has more or less put the ball in the court of 32 GMs that he's interested in leaving the KHL and coming back, and that's got me blown away.
All right, TR, what's your oh baby moment of the week?
My old baby moment of the week was I forget her name. The
Kendall
girl
Coyne show fails because
the
it's
skater
mine and because
blew me away.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 wins it. So we're gonna talk about that because oh baby, this was a fantastic story. It just happened last night. It literally happened last night. She came in as a last minute replacement for Nathan McKinnon, who was supposed to skate in the skills competition.
Is that what happened?
She was a last minute replacement for him. He had to bail out of it. She was called up as the replacement, and she skated and she blew everyone's fucking mind. She did 14.34 seconds, like just I think around a second more than McDavid, who's won this 3 years in a row now. He won last night too. He did 13.3 seconds.
Yeah,
but like holy shit,
she beat people. She beat Fedorov and a couple more who won it in the past.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Incredible.
It blew everybody's mind. And but the thing that really kind of snapped it for me is like throughout the night, when I was watching stuff like that stupid fucking precision passing thing they do, which they got to bail on next year, it's painful to watch and all the players hate it. Yeah. It's stupid. But when I'm watching things like that, when I'm watching shot accuracy, when I'm watching the goalie save streak one, and I'm seeing other women players from the Canada and the US teams there, and I'm wondering to myself, why aren't they bringing this in? And that brings me to last week we were talking a bit about what you would do differently with the All-Star game. So we talked about like just fucking pitching sticks and all that kind of stuff. Here's what you do. You make it a mixed game between the NHL and the WNHL, and you give a chance for that league's top players to showcase what the NHL's best. It's not like the All-Star game's like a physical game in any way. It's not like you have to bring that in, mix the two teams up, and have them play together and do it that way. And I think that's the way you make the All-Star game fucking relevant again.
I like the sound of that because I think you'd be able to get some fun stuff going on, especially Phil Kessel's
Phil Kessel versus
Kessel's
his
sister, of course,
yeah.
is one of the faces of that league. She's a great hockey player.
Yeah.
Did she get an Olympic gold medalist?
She did. Yeah, the U.S. team beat Canada last year.
I mean, that's cool. I remember the NHL had a marketing campaign. I don't know, maybe it's 2 seasons ago now. It could be
if you can play,
3.
you can play.
Yeah, and it was they kind of that's the You Can Play initiative, but they had the banner that hockey is for everyone. And I really think that last night was really, I just saw it myself like a minute ago. Had I known that was going to happen, I would have tuned in and made a point to make like all of my friends around be like, hey guys, this is something that's going to happen that we're going to be talking about for a while. But back to the marketing campaign, they had hockey is for everyone, and I don't think there's much of a greater gesture than saying hockey is for everyone than having something like you had done like that, Mike, or something.
So are you guys saying to add girls into the game?
Into the All-Star game. I'm saying make the All-Star.
I'm not going to jump all over it like you guys did, but it's interesting. It's intriguing. I just assume, to be honest with you,
like I don't want to see. I don't want to see NHL versus WNHL. I want to see a mix.
Yeah, mend them together.
Mend the two together. Have teams that are made up of both players from the NHL and the WNHL. And I think in a time when the NHL is just trying to make the All-Star game relevant and fun to watch, I think doing that and giving the WNHL a platform to really reach a bigger audience, because a lot of people don't even.
We would do that for sure.
You know, and I think that it's such a great gesture to push that.
So just fuck everything then with the game. It doesn't matter at all. So just you're flushing any. It's the NHL All-Star game. Why don't we have hula hoops and the NBA players come in too? Why don't we put the WNBA and hopefully have their games in the intermission, and then we can have everybody happy.
Well, what I'm saying is,
what about the Panda League? What about the Panda Bears? Bring them in.
I get what you're saying there, TR.
No, I'm only saying it from a devil's advocate point of view.
No,
I totally.
You.
If I had to vote on it, I would vote for the women to get showcased. The question is how, but yeah, I would. I really would.
Whether or not
I see what you're saying.
Whether or not it's the All-Star game or just the skills comp.
Skills comp makes a lot of sense.
Even just
too.
the skills comp.
Skills comp, I think for sure that's a given. Okay.
Because I mean, the skills comp, they're basically
like the
bringing
game.
out,
There still might be someone at some point.
For your devil's advocate thing, the skills comp. They're minutes away from bringing out a fucking I'm pretty sure Gary Bettman was just like on his way out to the ice with a hula hoop and heard you and went, oh wait, no, I'm gonna walk back with it.
I was just showing extremes. I don't really.
But with with those extremes and stuff, I get what you're saying.
I'm not comparing women to Panda Bears.
No. And,
you'd better believe that hula hoop had some product
definitely
placement
got
on
my
it.
inbox and it was
a Gatorade
negative
hula
bigger
hoop last
just from that comment.
It was The hula hoop of fire brought to you by Firestone.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and I just think that because so many people at this point have disregarded the All-Star game, it's not like the Major League All-Star game where the team that wins gets the home field advantage in the World Series or whatever. Like it has no actual bearing on anything else. It's a complete like bottle episode where like it has no, it's an episodic bottle episode. There's no effect on literally anything else that happens around the year other than just this time to be a dog and pony show for the league. So if it's going to be a dog and pony show for the league, I think that if the NHL is saying hockey's for everyone, put your fucking money where your mouth is and use it to showcase and help bring up the WNHL alongside you at the same time. That's my thought on it.
Another thing I'm going to bring up with this is more and more people of our age generation who drag the All-Star game weekend, the All-Star weekend and all that stuff. And the retort has kind of always been, and I agree with it, that this is for the kids, more or less. Mm-hmm. This is for the kids. Yeah. I don't know about this year because I don't think puck drops until like 10 o'clock tonight or something like that.
It's in San Jose, so it's puck drops 10 o'clock here, but it drops at like 5:30 in San Jose.
Time zones.
Yeah.
But they say it's for the kids, and I can't I can't imagine more of a light in the moment, like a light in the eye moment of seeing both of those leagues, at least for the skills comp or something like that. And I know they're going to lean into this based on the reaction that that's going to get today.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I think we're already there almost. So you got to wait until next year. But I can only imagine kind of the light in the eyes of like all of the young. Like, listen, I grew up in a small town. There were a couple of female hockey teams, but there was no women's league at that time, and really I think the women's league right now, like a lot of people in this country would be surprised that there is a women's league. So I think it's once again, it's back to that hockey's for everyone thing. Mm-hmm. If you can find a way to mix them in, especially it being for the kids, I think it's a good move.
But it's the NHL though, right?
Yeah.
Like so they're that's all I'm saying. Like it's the NHL. So
it's not hockey.
There's got to be a reason that they do this favor.
Yeah.
If it's for hockey, if it's Canadian Tire commercial, yes. I'm just saying it from that point of view. It's the NHL. Yeah. Why not have the Bantam, Red Deer Rebels go and playing the game as well? It's for hockey. It's for kids. So that's the only thing I'm saying.
No, I completely get what you're saying.
Some of the best jerseys in like hockey history, the Red Deer Rebels jerseys.
Thank you very much. Me and Ash shall talk about it soon. But I just as soon, honestly, be done with all of it. Although last night, the skills competition is pretty good. I got to be honest. For the girl last night, what was her name again?
Kendall Coyne.
Kendall Coyne. Okay,
Kendall Coyne. Yeah.
She was great, and there was some moments, some personalities shown, and some flair, and I do get that's for the kids.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I would be done. I'd be just soon see all of it go away to see Connor McDavid and Mitch Marner in a Canada jersey. If we're not going to go to the Olympics and we're not going to have a World Cup, but we're still going to take these 5 and 10 fucking day breaks, why can't I see Johnny Gaudreau versus Connor McDavid? You know what I mean? On an international level, like that would be my priority if it's the NHL, and then figure out where you're going to have these little games. Maybe over a Christmas break or whatever it might be. Christmas is for kids. Have an All-Star Day.
Well, I don't know. Something with the All-Star game that I was seeing last night that is something that actually keeps coming up in the room in my rec league. Right? Is so I play beer league. I'm on the third line. Not a big deal.
I wish this is a radio show, but I wish you could see Mike's eyebrows just then.
So I'm a third line plug on a rec team, but the thing with that league is that I remember growing up playing, not growing up, I should say, but like when I first was in like college and started playing beer league hockey, it was in my hometown. It was where I went to college, and it was something where you knew everybody because it was a relatively small town. So when we'd finish our game, we'd go, it'd be whatever it was on the ice. You go back to your room, you have a couple beer. When you get down to the last 2 or 3 stragglers, you go over to the room with the other guys, you drink some beer with them, and then you kind of bond over that. You get to know the guys on the other teams and all that sort of thing. And now living in the city, the thriving metropolis that is St. John's, you don't always know all the other guys, and you're playing with them. You go up against them, and sometimes there's some bad blood. Sometimes you don't see them for those 3 or 4 weeks. You don't know the guy other than on the ice. And it becomes that whole kind of thing where things get a little bit more heated. And we were talking about how maybe over Christmas next year, we try to do a tournament from that league where we do, pick sticks, we do whatever it is, and just kind of mix up the team so you get to know the other guys a little bit. And for us, it's just a matter of just taking some chippiness and bullshit out of the game. But I think it's something too that with the NHL. It's just that it's that nice break to see these guys take a beat and just kind of enjoy the game a little bit, and it's nice for them, and it's good to, like, you know, you see the guys from San Jose like taking a picture with Austin Matthews after he hauls off and shows off does the shooting accuracy with the Marlowe jersey on, just a pander to San Jose, and just that kind of stuff. And so it is nice to kind of have that midseason break to kind of flag, like, we're halfway through. Here is that dog and pony show, and it's kind of nice to see. But I don't know why that somehow became talking about a tournament for my rec league, but whatever. I just kind of wanted. I kind of wanted a chance to drop in a little plug for being third line there.
It's the Christmas social rec league tournament coming up soon.
Most guys don't like when we started promoting the podcast, and I was like, "Oh, I play third line." A bunch of people thought it was a joke because it's so rare for a rec league to have a team with 3 lines deep. But here we are.
What's your time on ice like in a game, Mike? In that rec league, how many minutes you get?
No, it's I mean, we're not shortening the bench or anything, so it's generally an even third of the forward time. But still though. But
You're
with that,
doing the heavy work, I'm going to talk to that coach if I have to.
I know I want to do some more heavy lifting, get out on the PK more. Let's move into our intentional offsides this week, unless there's anything else that we want to baby over. But I think we might circle back on the offsides as well to what you had to talk about. But last week we kind of got a little heavy onto the Leafs. And to the point where TR kind of stopped us and went, okay, boys, we're talking about the Leafs a little bit too much here.
Putting our foot down.
And there might be a chance that over the next 10 minutes we do that with the Oilers. Because holy shit, what a dumpster fire the Edmonton Oilers are.
I'm just really pleased I started last week's episode with a burn on Pete Chiarelli as if he bought tickets to the Fire Festival and he got duped, like, with all these rich Instagram kids. Because, boy, if anyone's going to buy an expired carton of milk, I think it's Pete Chiarelli. Of course, I'm talking about.
But the important thing is like Pete Chiarelli wouldn't buy himself an expired carton of milk. He would pay, $15 million of, was it Bob Nicholson's money for an expired carton of milk?
I guess so. Of course, what I'm referencing to is that contract that got him. I guess I'm going to say it. I don't know.
They say it's not the contract. They say it's the loss to the Red Wings, which is,
They kind of had to say that, like, there was a press release saying that, like, Peter Chiarelli negotiated this contract. Of course, I'm talking about, is it Mikko Kiskinen?
Mikko Koskinen.
Kiskinen.
I'm not sure if it's Mikko or Mika, but it's Mikko. Okay. Koskinen is the guy.
Koskinen, a backup goalie. He's 31, I think, and they signed him to 4 years. And he's got a modified no-trade clause, even. And I just think, but my intentional offsides on this is not against, it's kind of against Peter Chiarelli, but it's more so that it's the Edmonton Oilers organization, because they brought in a guy who, we won't even touch on his last name. Let's just call him Keith. Can we do that? Everyone on.
Well, the other thing is, like, I know, like, the guy's obviously been involved in hockey for a long time. He actually came over, I think, to the Oilers from the Bruins with Chiarelli. Okay. But when it came to him becoming the interim GM, it's like, well, why should we make you the interim GM? And they said in a room covered with Edmonton Oilers logos, and he slid over his resume, which was just a piece of paper with his last name underlined 3 times. Like,
for those not, his last name's Gretzky. Perhaps you've heard of the family. Pretty big in the hockey world,
particularly in the Edmonton Oilers world, right? So, TR, I mean, what are your thoughts here?
I don't want to touch the Chiarelli thing. It's been beaten to death on every sports channel. Keith Gretzky, I'm sure. Yeah, people have an idea what they think of that right now. I mean, you'd have to be totally, not paying attention to anything in the sports world. So I don't think I can add anything to that people are going to be surprised over. Or, anyway, I'm not going to waste anybody's time. Keith Gretzky was my assistant coach in Tri-Cities. And I got to say at the time, but boys, we're going back 25 years now, 26, 27 years, maybe, 1993, 94. So Keith was a great liaison between the players and the coach, and the GM. He was always seemed to be in the room, concerned. I don't mean in a negative way all the time. He was concerned with everybody. How you're doing. Do we need to call your parents? And I mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, he would call and set up times for us to do our school after practice, because Major Junior out west. I told you you're on the bus half the time. 33 hours to Brandon, 16 hours to Prince George in your own division. So I just mean he was that kind of guy. He'd help you out with your school.
Yeah.
On the ice, I mean, it's Keith Gretzky. He still got drafted in the second or third round, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it's
I'll
not like,
actually check what. Yeah, because it was.
I remember watching him on TV with the San Diego Gulls in the IHL before that, and I remember he had decent numbers. He got drafted to Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. And Keith was a friend for a few years. I lost touch with him, but I'd say he sent me a nice message when my book came out. When was that, 4 or 5 years ago? I mean, it's not like I hung out with him off the ice a lot because at the time I'm 16. He's the assistant coach, but...
He was drafted 56th overall. I'm not seeing what round that was in 1985, but he was 56th overall by the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
I will ask this, though, TR. Do you think that Keith Gretzky gets this job if his name is Keith Smith?
But is that
No.
But is that Ryan Smith's brother?
Smith with an I. Smith with an I.
No.
But I think it goes deeper than that because he already, maybe years ago, he got a job in the field because of that, and then they got to know each other, and then he slides in. I think that the Keith Gretzky getting a job because his name was Gretzky happened a long, long time ago.
Okay.
And now that he's there is some substance to it. I mean, he knows hockey. The last time that I spoke to Keith, he was a scout in Phoenix, and I know that. And he was a GM in like the West Coast League for a while when I was out there, the Whipple, one of those, the Western Professional. He's always, as far as I know, every time his name's come up, he's in a management or a scouting position with a professional team, whether it be NHL.
He was the Asheville Smoke of the UHL, where he was the GM for, yeah.
Wow. There you go. So, he's always been involved, right? And now it's still Asheville, but, and those things are tricky, too, because those leagues got their own little week-to-week salary caps. It's not easy. If you... I compare it to a video game, you work your way up to the highest level. It's and it takes a little bit, and there's a little bit added to each, obstacle to each level. Well, it's kind of the same thing. Like if he just did that for a year, he'd have an idea. Not only that, he's been a scout, so he's scouted every single player that he's managing here. I mean, by default, he should have a setting that he's going to be decent. He's not going to make any idiotic moves. Now, we don't know, but I think this is, I don't think it's permanent. It seemed to me that, like you said earlier, Chuck, if there ever was an actual interim position, this is it. But who knows, man? He might go in and take over like a rookie,
But I mean, that's the weird thing is like a lot of looking at his kind of, on jokes aside, looking at even just his fucking Wikipedia page here. I mean, he might kind of be that fit for the Oilers in that, looking at things he came up as a scout and a coach and a GM in lower tier leagues and a player. He has experience as an assistant GM. He was director of amateur scouting for the Bruins. He like we said, was a coach in Tri-City. He was a coach in Asheville and the GM there.
And not only that, sometimes you don't want him to get the job only because it's Gretzky.
No,
but he's also grew up with Wayne Gretzky,
and that's the thing is so he ticks off that box for the Oilers guys.
Yes,
those guys look at him and go, okay, he's Gretz's brother. Check. He it's Oiler family pedigree. Check. But he actually does, from the looks of things, have that bit of a resume that makes it look like...
It's not as absurd as when I was in Montreal and Régent Houle, who was a beer rep at the time, became the GM. And I'm not even saying he wasn't qualified. I don't think he did a fantastic job at the time. Hello. Yeah. But he he knew hockey a little bit. Maybe he made a few bad moves that might come back to haunt him. But I mean, that was more outlandish than this. He had no experience.
I mean, that's the thing is what's going to be ridiculous is in the offseason when they relieve Keith Gretzky of the interim position of GM and bring in fucking Yari Curry. They're just going to, is this the Oilers? And they're just going to, that might be the thing that's it's interim because he didn't previously play for the Edmonton Oilers. We tried this outsider in Chiarelli and look where it got us,
and
right?
That's the one thing I'm going to throw a bit of smoke at the Oilers thing. I don't think that organization is gonna a lot more. You see GMs becoming younger, more stats heavy, all that. I'm not saying that's right.
Did you see Grant Fuhr getting a flame war with some guy over analytics oh man,
I got to tune into that. However,
it's on Twitter. I think.
I don't think their front office, which is mainly old fellas who plugged their time with. I don't think Craig McTavish or anyone like that has that on their agenda. And the reason, the one thing that bugged me with all this is, obviously somewhere along the way, we've all collectively got stuck with Brian Burke, the analyst. I don't know how, but we're for better or worse, we're stuck with Brian Burke, the analyst. And of course, Brian Burke,
even though somebody did just mention, I think it was on Puck Soup, the boys mentioned maybe Brian Burke as the new GM of the fucking
Is
Oilers.
his blood pressure still just like through the roof, or is he tanned, or has he burned himself? What happened? Boys, his face is a fucking tomato.
I don't know.
Holy, or is it the white hair? I don't know what it is, but I'm on.
I don't know.
When I look at it, I get too hot. I gotta go fucking cool down. I gotta open a window.
I think it's that Sportsnet actually makes him like tie his tie now instead of just draping it, and so it's like
Holy
locking
fuck.
all the blood in his top of his head.
I'd like to see him have like
amazing.
halogen lamps on him, like kind of at a buffet that keeps the food warm, and just he's
an interrogation room.
festering there. But of course, he came out
Like
immediately.
Newman in Seinfeld being interrogated.
He came out obviously to the defense of Pete Chiarelli almost immediately and said, like, well, this guy didn't become. I don't want to put words in Brian Burke's mouth because he can beat me up even at his age. But he said, like,
And he will. Like Brian Burke.
He probably will.
Burke would be like, somebody on a podcast where said what?
Yeah,
and they just like come find you.
He's on Air Canada flight AC 977. Like, he's flying economy class too. Like, but anyhow, he said, like, it's not like it became a moron overnight. But and that's I don't know if it was the word moron. But it's almost as if, like, no, Brian, he didn't. It's just the league has changed and he couldn't keep up. So maybe he's not the best guy for that job anymore. And, like, listen, guys, the jury's still out on Keith Gretzky, but it's got that reek of Oilers to it that, like, this is Groundhog Day in Edmonton.
Here's the thing, whether it's Edmonton, I mean, obviously I'm a Bruins fan, so I have some thoughts about Chiarelli. It's very mixed because there's a cup, but there's also a bunch of other things. I think Chiarelli may be in NHL history, though, go down as the only GM to trade from separate teams the first and second picks from any particular draft class for a bag of pucks and a song, respectively. Yep. Like he traded Tyler Seguin for there was other players in that deal, like Rich Peverly was involved, other stuff, but it was it was essentially Tyler Seguin for Louis Eriksson with some other pieces, but you could almost consider those other pieces a separate trade. It was kind of a 1-for-1, and of course Louis Eriksson is not what Tyler Seguin has become. A big part.
But that wasn't hard to see. Seguin went first or second overall, didn't
second
he?
Overall. He went second overall.
And he just won a cup at fucking 19. I still look at that and go, like, gotta have your head checked.
The thing that kills me is that he traded Seguin after all that fallout in Boston because Seguin was partying too hard and it was all that kind of shit. Traded him to fucking Dallas for and then he won the fucking King Clancy. He's won the King Clancy twice, which is for like community involvement, being a leader and a hero in the community. Yeah. So like clearly, like, and then he trades Taylor Hall for Adam Larson 1-for-1, which will possibly go down as one of the worst trades in the history of the fucking game. And Hall's gone on now and he's won the Hart. Oh, yeah. And like, I mean, it's easy to say hindsight's 20/20, but still, like, you could tell, like, everybody on that day also knew that, like, if someone, like, that was going to work out better for New Jersey than it was for Edmonton.
You got to get a pick
Eberle
or
went
something.
for Strom, who went for, I forget, Eberle now they have
Spooner,
nothing
and then
for him.
nothing.
Yeah, well, that all comes
Spooner.
back. Spooner for nothing, but that I saw somebody, and I think I tweeted it out on the Third Man In Third Man In Twitter, where someone tracked that back. Spooner going off waivers ends the fallout of the Messier trade. So Messier going to New York, and it just follows this path where it's like it was Messier for somebody who was traded for somebody else who was traded for a pick. That pick became so-and-so. That person was traded, and it's just this trickle down where now this is the last move of that is the fallout of the Messier trade. It's
I'm picturing
fucked.
like a whiteboard with like red thread, like in a Dragnet movie.
100%. It's like Russ Cole from fucking the first season of True Detective, like just piecing all this shit together.
Pete Chiarelli's trades, however, will always forever remind me of the character Old Gil from The Simpsons. Always.
Yeah.
So I wish him well. Big fan of the show, obviously, Pete Chiarelli. Yeah. And I wish him well.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, Pete. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this.
I got an intentional offsides of my own I want to throw
yeah.
First thing I'm going to do before I say this, I got to correct myself. So Zach O'Brien, like I said, and my buddy Marcus Power are playing on the Growlers. Newfoundland Growlers are Newfoundland's East Coast League team. And they were listening last week, and Zach reminded me, and I forgot, Teddy Purcell's team that went and won, remember I said last year, the Air Canada Cup at the time, now it's the Telus Cup.
Yeah.
Zach, or they didn't win it, they got bronze. Well, so did Zach and those guys, and Zach was an unbelievable scorer in Midget AAA. I don't have the exact numbers, but they were through the roof. And then Zach, now this is me talking. He just reminded me about winning. He wouldn't be bragging about himself. But he went on to score 50 goals in the Quebec Major Junior League. And Marcus Power went to PEI. There was obviously more players on the team, but I got to mention them. They're my buddies.
Yeah.
And Zach went on to win a Calder Cup, and so there's a success story there too. And the Growlers are also in first place.
They're
with,
killing it. Yeah.
Adam Party, and we'll get into the Ryan Clough thing at some point. But my intentional offsides goes to my marriage counselor, who can go fuck herself. So this is the thing. I walk in. Listen to this. How's this for a scenario? So I walk in with Danielle. Danielle's my wife, for those who don't know, and we're on better terms now. But, there was some stressors in our lives. We lost a lot of fucking coin with bad investments and other things, and they can bring some stressors into your life. So, as you know, and some people, you need fucking marriage counseling. It's a long fucking road to spend with one person and not get pissed off here and there, right? Everybody offends someone at some point. So we went in to get some help with the direction of where we were going. And it ended up helping, but in an indirect way. So this girl, I sit down, and I've never been in that situation. I've seen therapists here and there, and especially in the NHL. Wayne Hallwell is one of the best I've ever worked with, sports psychologist. I was going through a lot when I was 19 or 20 on and off the ice, and he really helped me. So I figured, why not? I'll go in and see a therapist. So we went in, and I won't say her name. I won't. It's on Torbay Road here in St. John's. I wrote a Google review, and her name is right in there. I feel like I shouldn't, maybe, because, I'm hurting her business, but at the same time, she did a piss poor fucking job. So I sit down. Danielle sits down. One of the first things that's brought up, is we're giving a little mini bio, who we are. And Danielle says, or I say, it comes up that I'm a hockey player. I was a hockey player. And she says, well, that's problematic. Now, there's my fucking problem. It doesn't go beyond that. But you're going to look at me and generalize and assume, based on me being a hockey player, that that's a bad thing. And first of all, I get it. She was an immigrant. It seemed to me from Mexico, maybe. Which is fine. I mean, I'm an immigrant. We all come from immigrants. I'm certainly not one of these people saying put up a wall. I believe in everybody. I believe in equality. I won't get too far. There's politics. I wouldn't consider myself one or the other without listening. So I don't join myself to a party, but I'm not. I believe in equality and opportunity. But if you're going to come in and do a fucking piss poor job, I'm going to bring up the fact that maybe your culture doesn't know. Maybe you've seen the movie Slapshot and Goon, and that's it. I don't know what the fuck it is, but if I'm supposed to, I got a fucking lowly arts degree in folklore, and one of the first things you learn in the first fucking psych courses is that we're all, I guess, supposedly, not supposed to generalize and assume. And I'm going to sit in there. I could look at her and say, well, why are you my therapist? You're from another place. I could say, I'll grab that for you. You're a woman. You're not strong. It's exactly the same thing. So she's going to sit down there and fucking chirp me because I'm a hockey player, and it's taken me all over the world, and I've done charity. We're about to invite Arron Asham on here, and Arron has a golf tournament of which I've flown to 3 or 4 times, and it's called Aaron's Chance to Play, and it raises money for kids, not only from Portage, mostly from there, but disadvantaged kids, to play hockey. And Arron was one of those kids at one point. He had a hard upbringing. And so for this bitch to fucking sit there and look me in the eye, and before we even start, tell me that it's problematic. So I'm going to read my Google review just to finish things off, because that really fucking pissed me off. I suppose my biggest complaint is that Dr. Rose, I nearly gave her name away, Torbay Road. I suppose my biggest complaint is that Dr. R made a generalization about me based on my occupation, an occupation for which I'm proud of and have used in positive ways over the years, not the least of which would be charitable causes all over the world, and judge me accordingly without knowing anything about me other than my appearance and my profession. I believe she used the word problematic. I have a lowly arts degree, but even I know not to judge people before getting to know them. It could be a cultural thing, who knows? In any case, I wasn't only displeased, but fascinated at her approach. Honestly, all I came out of there thinking was that my daughter should try and work in the same field because the bar is pretty fucking low and it pays well. I'm sorry for the negativity, but this is my honest opinion and I felt I should post. Everything was real except for the F-bomb. I didn't put F-bomb in front of But anyway, fuck her. And, it did bring us together in the odd way because we laughed at it. She did have some good points other than that, She did spend a little bit of time hanging out, try not to dwell on the past, and I've fucked up in the past more than anything. So, we did need to kind of build a bridge from a new kind of place and go in a different direction, which happened. If I wasn't happy, I wouldn't sell out my wife and just say this personal shit on the air. But fuck you, Doc. You know exactly who you are. I'm never coming back, and I hope everybody reads that Google review and you go get another fucking degree in another profession because that was bullshit. There's my offside. Sorry.
I wonder what she thinks of a fireman.
And I assume too. I assume she is a loyal listener of the show. So hopefully she has.
It'll probably get back to her. I hope. I doubt it, but it could. We're in St. John's. We've probably got a big listenership here.
TR, did she dabble on what was problematic? Because all I could think about was firemen could probably be problematic. Like you're always in those scandalous calendars and all this stuff like that.
I could not believe it.
Just wait till she gets a Murby in there. She's now.
There was more that I was upset. I felt like I was being ganged up on. I just figured I'm going to go in there and be open-minded because, I'm, and knowing that it's a woman.
Yeah.
Because you got to take the step, okay, I'm going in there and hopefully she's not, I won't even say feminist. Feminist in many ways just means equality. I could be a feminist. But I don't want her to take that side. So all of a sudden, by that, I think okay.
Well, it's just one of those things that you're going in there, you're being vulnerable, you're opening up, you're being honest, and you go in and you're hoping that whoever is there is going to greet you both, and you're going to be on equal footing when you get into that room.
I'm not judging her. I could say, I don't want an immigrant. I don't want a female to do this. For reasons that are touching. Not. You got to be fucking touch this shit with a fine-tooth comb. I don't mean in any way because I'm separating them from me and inequality. I just mean I could go in there and want all the cards my way. You know what? Oh, I'll rather a therapist that's a man that played sports. But I didn't. I'm like, okay, this is what the fucking card drew. But I get in there and that's what it felt like. And the problematic, as the conversation went, was to do with how it seemed to be how hockey players treat women. That was what it seemed to be like. Ooh. So I know. And there's really nothing to go by other than movies. If you were from Mexico and I guess if you watched Slapshot, you'd have a point, I suppose. She didn't think I was beaten her or anything. She just thought I was an ignorant hockey player. There, that's the best I could.
Doug Glatt was a sweetheart and goon.
He certainly was.
He certainly was.
Yeah, but LaFlamme was a bit of a dick.
Oh yeah, Xavier LaFlamme was.
Who knows? All I know is that she judged me and she shouldn't have, and it's her job, and I'm just a fucking bystander.
TR, I will say I give a big thumbs up for you bringing up your the team. I guess it was a team therapist in Montreal when you were there. Was he a team therapist?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was great too.
You don't hear. One thing is that you kind of don't hear hockey players talking about that enough. And no, it's
good
nice
point.
to hear
at the time,
especially at the time now. I do know a couple of guys have come out and said a bit more about that, but I can't imagine the pressure of being a 19, 20-year-old and going in the Bell Center and even having 20 people look at me.
And actually, you know what? I think it is kind of a good time to touch on that, just because this episode is being recorded right now. What's today? Today is the 26th.
26th.
This will drop on the 29th. I believe the 30th is Let's Talk Day.
Oh, okay.
So if you're listening to this on, I guess, the Wednesday of the week it comes out, I believe. I could double check, but I won't, just because it's not that important. But it is important to talk about mental health, and it is about those things, and the idea of part of her problem apparently is the whole idea of the perception of hockey players as this masculine, misogynistic thing, and that was but you're talking about how as a player you had a sports therapist, you had somebody you went to talk to when you were having those problems, and it's good to hear more people open up about that stuff.
Well, look, at the time I would say I don't think a lot of us really wanted to. I give props here to my buddy Scott Thornton, was on the team then, and Scotty had gone 3rd or 4th overall a few years before me, and I don't know if he was really scoring at a pace that they expected. He ended up being a great player, a two-way player, 20-goaler. Got traded to San Jose.
Longevity of a career.
He's on my Instagram, actually. You see him pipe in every once in a while. I think he listens to this, or at least he liked it online, which is as good as a listen nowadays, isn't it? But Scotty was great.
It's not listen and like and review.
He's him and Turner Stevenson. Turner was also a first-round pick before I got there. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I remember that distinctly, but I remember being kind of ashamed to have to go to see Wayne, again, as a first-round pick who's coming in, not a great skater. I had a concussion, and I felt pressured to play through it. So, I really didn't have anywhere to go. And then they really made it seem normal. Man, the boys took me out for a meal. And then Vinny Damphus told me that he used them. And then Wayne, even himself, he didn't get personal, but he told me that he kind of transcended sport. Wayne worked all over North America, and he recommended some great books to me. The first Rick Pitino book, I remember, I forget the name of it, but it's a great book. It's a little dated now, but all those things, about how to just get the mental edge and how to not let things bother you. And, you got to be a humble athlete kind of thing. And when you come at it from that angle, you'll be much better. And that I remember those specific things still. It's not like I think about them every day, so it meant a lot to me.
But yeah, it is something that, and in light of everything you went through that like last week, I think it's, it is good to have that conversation and like I said, it's her, like, you're talking about one person's perception, which is obviously it's a generalization. It's not just one person's perception. A lot of people do have that misperception of what hockey players are, and it's and it's bullshit, especially when you're somebody who's supposed to be an unbiased. Unbiased observer who you're coming in, and when you have somebody who's coming in and I think in a lot of cases that it's something that does create a hurdle and a barrier for people who are trying to get help, whether it's marriage counseling, whether it's for any other kind of mental problem. It's that fear of judgment when you walk into a room and open up to somebody, and to have somebody do that right out of the gate is absolute bullshit. And so I would have to agree with your review that it's.
I wouldn't go fucking ballistic if I didn't think in this. If I'm passionate about something, as you know, I'll fucking freak out, and I'm going to attach myself to it.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing that convinced me that she was in the right. Anyway, I'll let you know as it goes. I'm certainly not going to go back to her. And to be honest with you, she was so bad that it's really helped think we haven't really had many problems since, knock on wood, because it's a long life, isn't it? But, we're all good. And I'm sure that
table is plastic. That table is 100% plastic. All right. Well, on that, let's get talking to someone else then. Let's get ready. I guess we'll get ready and bring in our guest this week, who is Mr. Arron Asham. Now, Terry, you can like, before we go throw to our sponsor before the interview, Terry, you want to just kind of fill in our listeners who may not know just who Arron Asham is? Well,
Arron Asham is he's one of my oldest friends in hockey and professional hockey. He played 900 odd games in the NHL. He was a great hockey player. In junior, he had 45 goals twice. Third rounder, I believe Ash was, yeah. And again, I'm not reading this; just it's my good buddy. And we're really, really good friends. Montreal, as most people know, drafted me 8th overall in 1995. Well, in 1996, they drafted Arron, who played in my league, but I didn't know him yet. Actually, tried to fight me a couple times, threw a water bottle off the side of my head, and I really respected him for that. I remember them asking me when they were going to pick him, or if they just picked him, whatever it was about him, and he was so spunky, man. I loved the look of this guy. He shoots right. He's like me from the other side, but with definitely more. It's just spunk, or what's the nastiness? I'll fight you. Arron will hurt you. And I don't mean dirt. I just mean like when he fights, he's putting everything into it. He's a little ball of hate, a lot of people call him. But anyway, we played together in Red Deer and went through a lot together. My stepson is most people know, is Tyson Young, whose father was BJ, who played with us on that team, who died in 2005. We went through all that together. We played in Fredericton together. We were roommates in the Fredericton Canadians, and the plan at the time was for Arron and I to play on the third line of the Montreal Canadiens, at least loosely. I mean, I'm not saying that they would have capped it at that if we'd gone up and done well, but the point was we played together in the minors, and we were roommates on the road, and we'd get called up. So a lot of people see my 8 games, for example, and even Arron's, whatever it was in Montreal, 30 or 40, but they don't realize that we were there for like 3 years, like all summer, and then we'd go train,
40, by the way.
There you go, yeah. But, we were probably there.
No.
Sorry.
Continue.
Well, I can't remember what Ash got. I guess you're the one looking at the computer. But
121 he played for the Canadiens.
For the Canadiens, okay. But in my time, I think it was maybe the 40, right?
Yeah. He did 7 in 98, 99. He did 33 and 99, 1,000. And then in 2001, from 2000 to 2002, played another 81 games.
Well, the thing is, and he was just cutting his teeth then, but Arron is a great team guy. We're going to get into some stories. Arron is, he's rough around the edges. He's rough around the edges. More than once, and not a jerk or an asshole. But I'll tell most of it when he's on with me. But I was almost at some points his roommate to keep him in line, if you can believe it. I'm the type of guy that would have a few beers and have fun and want to sing a song. Mm-hmm. Arron's not the type of guy to start a fight, but if anybody said anything about me, he's fighting. Yeah. Okay, you see, he'll pick up for you. He's a defender kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And if you're having beers and you're in a college bar or something, and that thing invites itself, then we've been in more than one hot situation. But then, or whatever you want to call it.
Tier, I got to ask, do you remember the name of the college bar in Fredericton?
Oh, well, the social club we went to.
Oh, you went to the social club. Okay,
we went to Sweetwater's.
Okay. That was Z's around then.
Nicky Z's.
Okay.
Well, that was the upper deck.
Oh, okay.
So I think the first year we were there, it was the upper deck, and the second year it was Nicky Z's, and then Dolan's was right next to there where Bird Dog threw the ashtray at me.
I remember Dolan's.
And I drank the 24 beer in 5 hours. We had a lot of just reminiscing stories. This sort of thing is going to come up. But anyway, Arron and I stayed together for a long part of that. I would visit him in the summer. He would come here to visit me. So we were friends, and after that, I mean, my career shortly enough was in the Atlantic Coast League and then in the senior hockey. And Ash kept playing, and he's a very valuable guy. I don't think he made it out of the one division. I mean, he played it. Every team he played on was in the one conference at least, wasn't it? Like it was all on the east side.
He left Montreal and stuck around that division.
Right? That's because guys these teams see him play every night.
They're sick of playing against him.
And they know that now. Just like in the
like when Chiarelli brought in Manning to play, so that Connor McDavid wouldn't have to play against him anymore.
Well, if you look, but the other thing is, it's not just the toughness. Ash is really tough, and especially pound for pound. I don't know if there's tougher, but he scored 45 in junior, and he played on the World Team Canada under 18. So in 2011, I think it was when they went. And the other thing, great guy, used to get me tickets to games. Arron would get me 2 extra tickets when they played in Montreal, so I could sell 2 and fly Danielle and I up. He'd say, "Well, I can't get your flight, but I can get you 4 tickets, and you can scalp 2 of them. So you and Danielle have a free flight." This kind of guy is. So, but that year, for example, someone got hurt. I don't know if it was Simone Gagne or who it was, but he's a great guy to fill in because you don't expect, you couldn't put John Scott, God bless him, on the first line. Yeah. But if you're in the playoffs and you got an Arron Asham on the 4th line, okay, now he can kill penalties. He can also go on the power play if you want that one-timer. He's got a cannon. And he's also a scorer. So, he can slip into that first line and not make you look bad, whereas a lot of people, he's a great, probably couldn't. He's a great utility guy to have, and he didn't cost a lot of money, and he's superb in the room.
Yeah, I feel he's got a 20-goal season there. Does he have a 20-goaler? I think before the...
He doesn't. He's got his first season with the Islanders.
It was
his first season with the Islanders, he which was 2002, 2003, he put up 15. Okay. But he's got great numbers.
Considering the ice time now, guys. Look at his junior numbers. Look in the Red Deer Rebels.
The Red Deer Rebels,
45.
He's got 40, 96, 97, he put up 45. And I mean, it's kind of shocking to see the numbers in Red Deer because it's in the 96, 97 season, he played 67 games, 45 goals, 51 assists, 96 points with 149 penalty minutes in the playoffs, 16-game playoff.
Now that's the year I was there with him.
He got 12 goals, 14 assists for 26 points and 36 penalty minutes in the playoffs.
Yeah, man. And and in the WHL at that time, it was hard, and he was smaller than bigger. I mean, he's a slight shade
5'11", I think, is what it's saying here.
They used to call, and I'm not saying
a little shorter than Hugh Jackman.
He was often called again, I'm not saying that this stuck, but back at the time, people would call him the poor man's me. And I mean that. I was slightly taller. He had 45, I had 50. He had 150 minutes, I had 207. He went the 3rd round, I went in the 1st. But we're on the same. So now Arron made up for all that. I'm not saying I was any better than him. I just mean in the Montreal papers, they love the fact that we got Terry, but Jesus, we got this little ball of hate coming right behind him, and I don't know, but he's a better scorer. It was, and so when we played together, man, we really flourished. I remember no one wanting to come at us. Our second year in Fredericton, in particular, I think I had 55 games. I had 40-something points, 100 and odd minutes. it really felt comfortable to play with Arron. We both had each other's backs. Our centerman was Scott King, really underrated, Dave King's son, who was weird. He didn't get up with the Canadians, and he had a great year that year. He had like 45, 46 points. You figure that... And Ray John Hull's son, JF, was also on our team. Oddly enough, neither one of them got called up, so you can accuse the Canadians of a lot of things, but certainly not at that time favoritism.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyway, I'll get into all this. But me and Ash, that's how far back we go. We're good buddies, and he ended up coming here to play for the Gander Flyers in 2015. So we kind of bookended our careers together, which is great. He's one of my best buddies, and he's coming up soon.
And that's great. So, yeah, let's take a minute, and we'll listen to a word from Little Dog, and then we'll come back, and we'll talk to Arron Asham.
This interview brought to you by Little Dog. 5 years after quitting a match, Tommy Little Dog Ross begins a quest for redemption. Little Dog Season 2 is on CBC now. Catch it Thursday nights at 9 Eastern, 9:30 in Newfoundland. By the way, keep an eye out for yours truly taking a few knocks in the ring. That's Thursday nights at 9 Eastern, 9:30 in Newfoundland. Little Dog Season 2. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a special guest upcoming, weighing in at 5'11", 205, out of Portage la Prairie, Manitoba, right winger, veteran of 789 NHL games, almost 100 NHL goals, over 1,000 NHL penalty minutes. A veteran of a former Canada World Under-18 team, Rebel, Hab, Citadel, Islander, Devil, Flyer, Penguin, Ranger, and of course, Gander Flyer, and my good buddy Arron Asham. Welcome, Ash, and thanks for coming.
Thanks, bud. No problem at all. Excited.
You know, I actually think Arron Asham may also go down as the only guy to play for both the Philadelphia and Gander Flyers. I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
Well, you never know. We're talking to Claude Giroux pretty heavily.
Yeah. Well, you guys remember his name when you call him from Gander, though?
True enough. So listen, today, Arron, rather than just have some typical hockey talk here, most people out there probably know, but Arron wrote the foreword to my book, so I trust him. He's a good buddy of mine. I guess trusting got nothing to fucking do with it. I want him a good interview, but I do. I trust him. He's a good buddy. We're friends for a long time. It would be over 20 years now. We played junior together in Red Deer, and then in Fredericton and Montreal, we're roommates, and again in Gander. But before I get into all that, you know what I'm just going to do, Ash? I'm going to start, take people on a walkthrough of kind of your career, and as we stop, I'll ask you about some stories on the way, because it's long and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.
I'm going to start with one of the things I often am amazed at is your toughness, and that just doesn't mean on the ice. I mean off the ice. I mean growing up, Portage la Prairie, Arron Asham. I'm not sure, Ash, I'm not sure exactly how your upbringing. I don't want people to think that you were worse off than people, because you weren't. But you had 4 or 5 brothers, right? And you were a tough guy.
I had 3 brothers. I had a lot of cousins. I just grew up with a tough family. I grew up seeing a lot of drugs, a lot of booze, a lot of fights. I grew up, I seen it all, and, I think part of that maybe the player that I was, that, nothing scared me too often. I was always up for a battle and always up for the challenge. I grew up in a crazy household, I'll tell you that.
Well, it was. So for those people out there, don't know, when I went to the Western League, I went to the Tri-City Americans. I'm a year older than Ash. He's a 78, I'm a 77. So then when I was in my draft year, being 94, 95, my second year in the dub, we're playing against Arron you'd play each team on the East, you'd play them once at home and once on the road. So he's skating around and he's fucking chirping me, and I'm going, and I could get goaded into a fight, but at this point I'm in my draft year. He's a small-ish, he wasn't big like he is now, or he's pretty skinny. Yeah, you were a little pissant. You were going around the ice and you were hitting me. And I said no. When I turned around the next time, I was pretty intrigued at this young kid that was chirping me. I turned around, I get hit right in the face with a fucking water bottle. That was my introduction to Arron Asham, and he did not let up. And when the fucking whistle went, he was still at me. I'm like, what? Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? It's over. But he just had that piss and vinegar about him, which I think really did help you. Now, as you're coming, Ash, now you go into Red Deer. Now, one of the things I love to tell this story in Red Deer, I ended up going to Red Deer a few years after this. This would have been 94, 95 when Ash gets there first. But I heard from Rick Carrier and other people around the organization that, part of that, at 16, you made it because they didn't really want to send you back. Arron's the type that would pick up for anybody. Again, I don't want to make it seem like he's starting fights, but right to when we played together, Ash is the kind of guy.
Finishing them, though.
Well, Ash will have a few beers, and if someone fucking picks on you, then he's coming in. He wasn't the type to chirp you though, but I think that happened a lot in Portage, especially with having a few brothers. So he goes on to kind of make it. Partly because, they want to send him back there, and he's pretty good. He's getting a lot better, and he had a cannon for a shot. So, Ash, the next question I'm going to ask you, and this was right before I really got to know you well, was in your draft year, and you had a great year. Had you talked to Montreal? I hadn't talked to them when they drafted me, and I went really high. And you were a third rounder, I think, right?
Yeah, I went in the third round, and I had one dinner meeting with them, and that was it. I think they were more interested in maybe Jesse Wallen or Lance Ward, but not much talking. And then lo and behold, they take me in the third round, and I was surprised. I was never a Montreal fan growing up. Like,
see, I was.
Like, that's the thing. I was a Jets fan. I was an Oilers fan. I come from I guess the second most speaking French community in Canada, in Manitoba, but there's a lot of smaller communities, French communities that were real happy. But I wasn't a Habs fan. I was a Winnipeg Jets fan.
To branch off just and pause for thought for a minute, because you are a role model. Like, when did you feel like you were carrying that? You're a role model for a lot, especially in the First Nations. Arron has a golf tournament. Yeah. It's called Arron's Chance to Play. I think I stated that earlier. Yeah. And what it does, it raises money for people within the community and beyond that might not have a chance to play, really. So, so right now we're seeing Arron at peak role model. But when did you realize that you were? Like, was it when we were playing in Red Deer? Was it when you signed pro?
Well, not too many players left home, like, to go play junior. There was Shane Calder, the guy that played Saskatoon. He was a tough player. He was a good player. Adam Calder, he went the UND route. He just passed away, actually, this summer from cancer. Poor bugger.
God,
good friend of mine.
I didn't know that.
And, 42 years old. It was terrible. But those were really the only two guys that really left. So those were guys that I looked up to. And, that was my goal, was to play hockey and to kind of get away from Portage. But funny story here. What's his name? Carter Sears, the scout for right there. He actually came up to the Paw, Manitoba, where it is 10-hour drive from Portage up north. He came up there to watch me play because I guess he was hearing some stories about me. But anyways, I had a friggin' great tournament. 5 games, I had 25 points. So right there, he listed me. He's like, "You're coming to camp. I'm going to drive down to pick you up, or we're going to send you a bus ticket." I was 15 years old. There's no way I'm jumping on a bus leaving. I just had a new girlfriend. I was starting to party with the guys. And there's no way I'm leaving. Carter jumped in his car, drove 12 hours, came to my house, picked me up, put me in the car, drove me to Red Deer, and the rest is history.
Wow.
So without Carter, driving, who knows where I'd be? I could be dead. I could be in jail.
Well,
who knows?
I tell you this, and we're going to get to some stories that I don't think people are even going to believe. When I say Arron's tough, I mean it. But before we get there, I suppose, from our time, when I went back, so Montreal ended up drafting Arron in the third round, and now they got both of us, right? And I remember before he actually got drafted, Reggie Houle phoning me, or no, who was it? Pierre Mondu phoned me. He was I believe, one of their head scouts. And just to, is this guy legit and everything? I remember having that conversation. So anyway, Arron and I go. Arron's first camp, him and Darcy Tucker get in a fight. It was just, you knew it was going to happen. Of everybody in camp just walking around, and they kind of knew each other, but you just knew that those two guys were going to butt heads at some point. I remember that distinctly. But anyway, I make the Canadians. Arron gets sent back. 19. He's 18. And he's going to have another great year in the Western League, but I ended up having a bit of a concussion, and I only played 3 games in the Habs up until late January. So then they said to me, it was actually Marilyn Mew had 4 goals that night. It was on my birthday or the day after, actually mid-January. And I watched the game, and he said, "Where do you want to go in junior?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you're Tri-City are in last place, so we're going to send you back to a team, though, that you can be protected," because I was coming off a concussion. And if you look, I was the only team I ever didn't fight with was the Red Deer Rebels.
Is this where you went to the high school with the hockey cards?
Well, yes, it is. Yes, that's what's coming up. And my hockey card was coming out because I was in the show.
Yeah.
So my head gets better after Christmas, and I'm going, I can't fucking wait. So they're like, "Where do you want to go?" Lethbridge, Prince Albert, and Lethbridge just traded for Chris Phillips and Byron Ritchie, I believe, to make a run for it. And Red Deer were making a run.
Phillips and Willis. Yeah, it was
Phillips
Shane
and Willis. Shane
Phillips.
Willis, who was a fucking huge scorer. Scott Stevens sent him out for life. With a hit. But that was it. So I picked Red Deer. So, and Ash and I rolled. We were never into the drugs or anything, but we partied. We had some beers. We went pretty hard off the ice, and on the ice, we were at, the first guys in the mix, and we were riding the bike. I mean, we never took time off, but we like to have a good time. So I went back.
The off ice, we went hard.
We went hard. Ash, remember you picked me up at the airport in Calgary. I was like fucking pumped. I joined Red Deer, and we had a great run. Like, I only played the last 16 or 17 games. I think we won like 14 of them. But I got there, and Ash opened up a few beers in the car. Ash, I think your girlfriend was driving, Amy, at the time.
Yeah.
And we went back, and we went to the bar. I introduced all the boys. We had a great fucking night. And I know that's too far one way, I guess, now looking at it for junior. But you know what? It was 18 in Alberta to get into the bar. Tri-City was 21. So we virtually never went. We went to house parties. But in Red Deer, it was 18, and if you're on the Rebels, they didn't really give a shit. Like, Justin Mapletoft, I remember getting in there. He was fucking 15 at one point. So, so remember that. But anyway, so we go, and we go on a fucking tear. So this is the next night, the first game. I get 5 points. We win in overtime. I think BJ, God bless him, God rest his soul, scored the winner. And then we went to Moose Jaw. I don't know if you remember this. But
how can I not remember this?
Remember that? So we fucking kicked Moose Jaw's ass, and then it was stormy on the way home. I don't remember where we got the booze or who convinced fucking Rick to pull over and give us, but there was these cabins on the side of the road. So me and a few more, I had gotten over it. I just remember being in the penalty box, and back then with no cell phones or anything, if you see a pretty girl, so I passed her my number, like, with a piece of paper, like, through the glass of the penalty box.
Like you're the kid at the fucking World Juniors.
Yeah. I've done that a few times, yes. So, and anyway, so I don't know, she got these other guys' numbers, and I knew a few guys on the other team, if I'm not mistaken. Matt Higgins was there.
Higgy was on the other team, Matt Higgins.
He was, and we ended up playing in Freddie. But within Freddie, great guy, too. But anyways, whatever happened, it was a snowstorm. We're at these cabins, and then the girls got there, but the guys didn't, and they couldn't because the roads got shut down. So then we're in these fucking cabins with the girlfriends of the Moose Jaw Warriors. We had all this booze, and they just come in and go, "Guys, by the way," and I'm like, "Okay, there's a catch to this. No booze, or we got to get up at 5." They're like, "Rick and Doug," the assistant coach Doug Hobson, "they're going to go straight through to Red Deer. You guys are here, but everybody got to be on the bus by 1." And we're like, "Oh, fucking right."
1 in the afternoon?
I went and bought a fucking stereo dude with fucking lights on it. We had Jesse Wallen, I remember, he was our captain. Yeah. Jesse was like pretty straight up, and our captain, good guy, he was a closet fucking drunk kind of guy. Like, he had beers, but he was just responsible on the bus, and me and Ash should probably be at the back, even the odd time sharing a cigarette or something, to be honest with you, at the back of the bus stand. It was a mess, wasn't it?
What a time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was old school WHL for sure. But as we go through at the end of that year, the Habs are fucking pumped because in that playoffs, Ash ends up leading our team in scoring with 24 points, and I believe 26 points. And I set a record for 3 rounds with 18 goals in 16 games, and I mean it. Ash can tell you, I mean, there's sometimes, you're playing on top of your game. Half of these were so fluke. One hit me in the ass. One I shot from behind the net. I had 2 from the red line. No fucking joke. Can you remember that shit? The
fake dumping.
The fake dump. You go fake a dump. The goalie go behind the net and throw it on. I mean it. Like, guys, these were going in. Everything we touched was gold. So, and not only that, we put it up a few times. I didn't fight on that team, but our particular Red Deer team averaged 2 and 3 fights in the playoffs with a couple of near brawls. Like, we were real tough.
This was 96-97, the year out of 16 games, Ash here had 36 PIMs?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, in the playoffs, dude.
In the fucking playoffs.
Yes, goading people in and shit.
Go
through the tough guys. Think of who we had.
we had Lloyd Shaw,
Yeah.
Lance Ward, myself, Mike Brown, Perry Ryan, Stephen Pete.
Oh, Petey. Devin
That's
Francon.
That Devin Francon, that's 7 right there.
7 heavyweights. And then you had guys
And then
like Scotty Burt.
Greg Schmidt.
Yes.
I forgot about Greg Schmidt.
Forgot about Grady Schmidt.
Schmitty was a killer.
Killer.
We had a tough team.
And then all the other guys loved to fight. So you had like guys like Scotty Burt, who we had no business ever dropping his gloves, but we had such a tough team that he'd go pick on guys and no one said shit. So like,
he chipped his nail and stopped fighting after that.
Yeah,
I'm just picturing the dressing room passing around Alcan tinfoil before these playoff games.
Guys,
just
I'm
the big
telling you.
roll of it.
That's why. The thing is, which takes us a good segue into the next year. So Aaron and I, I go to the Fredericton, and then he's a year behind, so he plays another year in Red Deer. But so a year and a half later, as we're going into the Fredericton Canadians together, the thing is, Fredericton had, other than the real heavyweights, Jerry Fleming had just retired. We got a guy, Dave Morissette, in, and we started to. We had Sylvain Blouin. We either had like these real heavyweights or guys like Eric Hood, say, or Higgy. I mean, love Higgy, he didn't fight. So Aaron and I became like these 2 middleweights that fought a lot. No one fought more than we did on that team. We had some killers. But no one wanted to fight Dave Morissette that much. I mean, he's a fucking killer. Sylvain Blouin, I thought, was a bit overrated as a tough guy, but
Boys,
whatever.
who the fuck was Lance Ward, by the way? I'm just looking at his penalty
Tenth-
minutes from the fucking 96-97 season, and holy fuck, man.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Well,
sounds like a wrestler name.
Gordo played a little bit with Jersey, with Florida.
he did. And they didn't count 10s back then in the WHL guys. Right, like
No.
every other league, they counted 10-minute misconduct. So if you were in the Quebec League, for example, and you're Christian Dubé, and you go to the ref, go fuck yourself, that's a 10-minute misconduct. In the West, there was so much chaos with people trying to set records penalty minute wise that they took those out, and we couldn't warm up with the other team either, could we?
No,
Ash?
no, we had to do separate warm-ups. Fucking sucked on the road. You'd wait 45 minutes to get back on the ice.
It's true. You go for your warm up.
Just because it was a friggin' gong show.
It was a total
It was
gong
a
show.
gong show.
Anybody
We'd
out there
be-
that yeah.
Yeah. The other team would be still on the ice with like 10 seconds left. We'd go on and just fire slap shots at them.
Yeah, I know. Often it didn't matter. I know that's fucking hilarious too.
Yeah,
Often it didn't matter. Like it was going to
Trying
break
to
out.
tomahawk them.
It was
That was a
such-
man's game back then.
It really, really was, man. Like and that's the thing for a lot of it, man. Like it was just having the balls to go in front of the net in that league, and you'd get a few goals. Like, and I can really, there were certain people that weren't willing to pay the price, that were real good, but just couldn't hack it. And people used their stick more then as a weapon, right? And there was more fighting. I mean, it was just crazy.
I'm telling you guys, when they eventually reboot the Slapshot film, they gotta get the 2 of you guys on as consultants here. They've gotta.
Dude, now you haven't seen anything yet. So now we go into
Just
Fredericton.
wait.
Okay, we go into Freddie.
Freddie Beach.
And Aaron and I are put, like I said, I think in the plan from Montreal's perspective, at least for a little bit, was, we were very similar players from different wings. So put us on the same line. And actually, like I said, Scott King played between us in 98, 99. It was a great player.
Yeah.
But Aaron and I, so, we're doing, now we're in pro, but we're definitely fighting tougher guys than we had in junior. So if that's not enough, on ice is one thing. But then off ice becomes, it's a little different. We used to go to Mort's in Red Deer or Branley's or whatever, college bar that was on the go. And now, you're and with Fredericton, we also played out of Montreal a little bit. Aaron and I were often called up to Montreal for the summer for often spurts of 3 weeks without playing a game. So we're starting to see, the way the NHL works. And now all of a sudden, instead of going to Mort's, we're going to Mort's Steakhouse, right? And we're going to Chez Paris, and we're hanging out, and we got a little scotch, and we got a little cigar action. And we get a little bit more money. Downtown came uptown, so to speak. So the Black Aces in the playoffs.
You did not just reference a David Wilcox
I fucking
song
did. Yes,
on
I
this
did.
fucking podcast.
So the playoffs, Ash and I are called up to be Black Aces. Now, this is what I remember about it. We're both I'm setting up the story. I know it sounds like I'm talking a lot, but Ash, I assume it's okay to go here because this was one of the craziest fucking nights of my life. We were at the rink and we're coming out. So myself, Alan Nazardine, I believe Matt Higgins and Jose Teodor, and Ash. I could be wrong with one of them, but that's what started at the rink. Neither one of us were playing, nor were we even hoping to play. You know, it was Black Aces.
Yeah, there's no way we're getting in.
There was no way we're getting in. So we did our workout, and we go to leave. And I'll never forget, actually, side note, on the way out, you know those people that ask for hockey cards? So, like, you know, you see a kid come and ask for a hockey card, but there's often, like, especially in Montreal, Ash, remember those people that would ask you to sign, like, 5 books full of hockey cards?
Oh, yeah.
And you couldn't personalize it? Oh, to Steve? No, just put Terry Ryan, like, hoping that the card's going to increase in value and they'll have a bit more money, right?
Yeah.
So I signed one for a kid. I'll never forget it. We're on our way out. And this guy fucking is pissed off at the kid. And I said, well, I'm not going to sign those for you. And he looks at the kid and he says, yeah, there's no fucking Santa Claus. I was like, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget it. That's why it gets chaotic, boys, coming out of the back of the fucking rink in Montreal because you get the super fans, right? It's ruthless. Wow. They're cutthroat for an autograph. But anyway, so Theodore says, let's go up. We'll have a beer at Super Sex. Super Sex, if you don't know, in Montreal, it's a famous strip club. It's been there for a long time. It wouldn't have been our first time there, and you know it's kind of normal in Montreal. Like it would not at all out of the ordinary for us to go to Super Sex. Every second bar is a strip club. I think we might even gone there for a meal. It was that kind of thing. Like you eat and eat your meal. They serve you. It's like this restaurant as there's strippers on 3 different stages. And I know that kind of goes on everywhere, but Super Sex is a level up for a lot of the cities that I've seen. So anyway, we walk in.
Not
now,
that
Ash,
you're an aficionado or anything.
all I remember is sitting down at the bar with you. The boys got a table behind us. Now, what from there can you... I don't know why you and this guy got an altercation. I can't really remember.
It started... There was we walk in, and to the left, there's kind of like the upstairs bar where you kind of wait there till they get your table ready. And Matt Higgins was up ordering us a drink. It was
Hickey was there.
Me, Naz, Terry. I'm not sure if Theo was there or not. But anyways, Matt Higgins and this guy they started arguing. They started arguing in French. Higgy was fluent in French, so they started arguing. So I went over there to be the peacemaker, saying, hey, what's going on? Like, let's break it up here. And this guy keeps at it. So I'm in between them. And this guy, open hand, slaps me in the face. Bitch slaps me.
I forgot that fucking part of it.
What?
Yeah.
This was a tough-looking dude, guys. He had only a leather vest on, nothing underneath. Yeah, it was obviously winter.
That constitutes as tough.
This guy, open hand, slaps me. And my first instinct is, I'm going to fucking hit this fucker. So I crack him, throw a left, knock him out.
Yeah.
Knock this guy out.
Right down, boys. Cold fucking junk. Guy goes straight down to the fucking ground. The rum and coke goes flying. Right there.
Right over a chair, knocked him out. So the bouncers, they come up, they're all in their tuxes, and they're like, hey, what's going on? I was like, this guy slapped me. He's trying to start a fight. I was like, you fucking slapped me. What do you expect me to do? So the bouncer's like, oh, no, that's a no-no. These guys are part of the Rock Machine, this bike gang.
Yeah, so now...
Fucking
yeah. He stands
so
up,
they're like,
Ash.
well, let's go, I'm going to go try to smooth it over, and, we'll see what happens. Meantime, he's going over to talk to this guy. There's another guy with no shirt with a leather vest on yapping at me. So I'm like, buddy, me and you, let's just go outside right now. We'll settle it.
I remember this distinctly. You were breathing on me. I could hear it. I was fucking scared shitless. Goosebumps, man.
The guy was like, oh, yeah, you want to do that? So he pulls out a gun.
Pulls out a fucking gun, boys. Pulls a gun on us. Meanwhile, there's a National Hockey League game played in the third period that we're supposed to be at. And we're over there as prospects.
Pulls the gun out. It says, yeah, you want to go out there, motherfucker?
Oh, yes.
So the bouncers come up. They're like, here, come over here.
We sat down, first of all. We sat down.
Yeah.
And by the way, before you even go from there, boys, you know what I did? We all sat down and I looked at everybody and I said, I fucking love you guys. I sacrificed for you on the ice. You know that I'll do anything for you. Trust me with anything. But I'm going to go take a piss and I'm jumping out the fire escape. Boys, that's what I did. I went and take a piss. I jumped out of the second floor fucking fire escape. I got on and I fucking bolted it to the fucking Chateau Champlain. So the rest of this story I'm not there for because I bailed. Anyway, keep going. I remember him pulling out his fucking thing.
Sat us down. The bouncers are like, let me go try to settle this out. They come back. They're like, you guys got to go. They got guys coming down here. So we're sitting there. Thank God. I don't know how we got a parking spot right in the friggin' front row of Super Sex. Thank God, I guess.
Yeah.
But this guy walks by us again, flashes me his gun again, and it was like, you're dead, motherfucker. I got guys coming. You're dead. So we're sitting there. He walks by us. We're up, 3 of us, down the stairs, and these are steep stairs. Somehow we jumped into this little fucking car Naz had, and we bolted it to the hotel. So I get to the hotel, and I had some of my family around with the Angels and the Hells Angels, and I had a cousin. My brother did a little collecting for him. I got a lot of cousins that were involved. So I called my cousin. I was like, hey. He's like, I screwed up. He was like, why? What happened? He's like, 'cause that's super sex. I got bitch slapped. I knocked out a guy with the rock machine. They got a gun. I was like, I don't know if I should go to fucking the rink tomorrow. Am I going to get fucking blasted? He was like, well, let me make a few calls. Just wait by the room. So TR's in the room with me. He's pacing up in the fucking room. It's so
Pacing.
funny. I don't know how he got there. He fucking sprinted like a maniac. The phone rings. I answer it. He's like, yeah, I just called a couple of guys. He's like, probably shouldn't go back to super sex ever again. But he goes, you should be fine. You should be fine.
Yeah.
So next morning, me and TR going to practice, and we're like hugging the walls, fucking in the building. It was
eventually, I don't know if it was the next day or 2 days later, Ash, that one of them came for an autograph. Can you remember that? Like on the way in, it was.
No, I don't remember that. I was so shit scared.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe what was happening, dude. Like I was scared for a month. I kept like just disconnecting myself from everything. I'd book one hotel and go to the other. I was just like, I was way too into my. But is this guy? Like I said.
But here's a question. Here's the important question. Did you guys ever go back to super sex?
Oh yeah.
I did once.
I gotta ask, what kind of, like, if you're in a biker gang, an open hand slap should be off the table. Like, they should have talked to him.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I've seen a couple of episodes of Sons of Anarchy.
There was so many places. Oh, you're right. There's so many places in Montreal to hang out, though, that more often than not, you would think in that strip club capital of North America that we would always be in there. But it was nice to go for a beer, and it was, of course, you want to go in and pick up the women here and there. But like, there was so many women available anyway, and so often in Montreal it was go out to a restaurant, the Salvio or Shane had a place then, and we might go to a bar like Cheers, but often it was just go out with the boys, have a pasta, have a meal, and it was that kind of thing. Buonanotte was a classic place at the time,
Buonanotte, Globe, yeah.
Globe, fuck yeah, that triangle of places. I forget the third one.
Cheers was great.
I think that's a longevity thing with Montreal and hockey players, though. I think one of the World Cups of hockey, like Wayner had a couch put there. Like there was a fancy leather couch. Just that was it. They brought it in for the members of the team, and you could.
We were there for that game, TR. We watched Canada lose at the World Cup.
Remember that shit? Yeah. How did we get in, Ash? How did we get in? It was like scalping, wasn't it? I don't think the team got us tickets, did they?
It was during camp. You paid for 2 tickets.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that. And
because I was still a broke junior kid making $36 every 2 weeks.
And you wasted your fucking bonus too, most of it. You had that gone in like 2 months.
Oh, I was friggin'. I got a story about that too. Friggin' 50K.
50K.
Oh, let's hear that one.
Well, I don't remember. I just remember like within fucking months, he's like, well, we got to make some more money.
Actually, I probably shouldn't tell the story. Who knows? I might go to jail for it.
Nah, we're all
statute of limitations on
So my cousin at the time, he was no names. He was heavily involved. So he was like, "Hey, you want to do me a favor?" He goes, "I was like, yeah." He goes, "I got 50 grand cash." He goes, "I need you to write me a check for 50 grand, and write it to Uncle Raynard, and I'll see you in Brandon in 2 weeks with 2 shoe boxes full of cash."
Just can't lose.
So being stupid, I was like, "Fuck," I wonder where this is from. So it's like, sure, why not? Help family out. So fucking dumb. I go fucking Brandon, I write him a check. Have this fucking 50 grand. I mean, me and Sean McNeil are driving back from Brandon to Red Deer.
In your new Tacoma?
No, this was on the bus. I had 50 grand on the bus.
Oh, fucking junior bus.
Counted out with Sean McNeil. So that was probably not one of my smartest ideas, but
Oh fuck! All that money you get paid in junior at that time like 60 a week, right? Like 60,
Oh, it was
70 or 80 a
terrible.
week. Ash got two shoe boxes full of cake.
yeah.
So you know what? So now that we told that story, because boys, that was one of the, and then that's next level tough, right? That's what I meant, like by this whole thing. So Arron, that became not normal to me because that didn't happen all the time. But I'd never seen Ash
No.
be scared of much. But this blew me away. This takes the cake. Now we're going to fast forward a bit. We're going to go off the hockey train and come back to it. Just I got to tell you this fucking story. I got to. So in 2007, 2008, I went out. I was going to go play pro overseas in Europe. And
Yep.
I was in the middle of an insurance settlement for my ankle. I'd hurt my ankle and my head. I'm a bag of fucking injuries at the time. But anyway, the Bentley Generals phoned and they set me up with a job. They're out in Alberta, right?
Yeah.
And they're a very successful senior team. Actually, it was just starting then. They were starting to get all the pieces together. Now they've been to the Allen Cup, I think, 10 years in a row. So I'd gone out there, and when I was out there, that's when I got together with Danielle, who used to be with BJ, our buddy, who's passed away. I more than anything was taking Tyson to hockey that year on and off, and Danielle and I were spending more time together. So eventually, you know, I felt kind of weird about it at first, but then, you know, Jesse Wallen phoned and Arron, and they're like, you know, Youngsy would probably rather you than some fucking plug that he doesn't know, you know, raise Tyson, and, you know, Danielle was our friend anyway. Danielle used to get us into Boston Pizza and give us free booze. You know, so we were all buddies all the time. Danielle and BJ got married at a drive-through window in Vegas. I mean, that was typical of our group. Like, we were just all fucking madness, right? So Ash hears that finally, after like a year, me and Danielle get together. So do you remember the year that Sean Avery was in front of Martin Brodeur waving his stick?
Yeah.
That was the year that Ash played for the Devils. And after the playoffs, the boys went on a cruise. So Ash had the option. He could have gone with them. But he found out that Danielle and I were getting together and getting married. So he flew back. So he had it was right at the end of the year. So instead of go with them right off the hop, he flew back to Red Deer first.
Yeah.
To see us. So, you know, we went to a Rebels game, I believe. We went out for a few drinks. And we're going back. My buddies at the time were staying in a house in North Red Deer. You know, they're working on the rigs, my buddies. There's a lot of Newfoundlanders out there.
Oh.
Good fellas. I grew up with them. I knew
Couple of
them.
them,
I
yeah.
didn't know their roommates, and I didn't know most people at this party. So we were going back. So again, there was a Rebels game, and like one of the Sutters, it wasn't Brian though, but it was one of the Sutters came back that night. I think he was scouting for the Rebels at the time. Jesse Wallen, who was coaching for the Rebels, who was our ex-captain in Red Deer, who played for the World Juniors and was Detroit Red Wings. So there was some reputable people coming back here. So I didn't really know where we were going. I just followed my buddies. My buddies say, come on over to a party. It might be good for me. It might not be good for one of the Sutters. So I don't really know. So Ash and I are just thrilled to fucking see each other and hang out. And we're in with Danielle's in there. So we say, fuck it. So we go to the party. Now this dude shows up and he's acting like a dickhead. Like, and he's just, now I'm not exaggerating. Remember Chuck Liddell? Like he had the hair was just like that. And he was a big, thick guy. I'm guessing 5'11", 6 foot, you know, and real, like not fat, but like 260, like a real big, thick guy.
Yeah.
So, and he's really kind of throwing his weight around, and he's got a jacket on. I think he wants everybody to know he's in a gang. Again, we don't roll with gangs much here, but like this is the second gang fucking infused story that me and Ash find ourselves in the middle of. So we go there, and Ash merely goes to take a piss. And you're going to pick it up when we come out here a little bit, Ash. So Ash goes in to take a piss. So, I'm in there with Danielle, and like he's in there for like 2 minutes. This guy wants a reason to fight. So he knocks on the fucking door. Ash says, okay, bud, like I'll be out in a second. Like I just got in here. So in other words, just like stop grilling me. This guy wanted to start a fight. And Ash's point, I think, is like, you know what? I'm not scared of you. So there's Ash comes out. He goes, Noof, tell this guy there's a fucking bathroom downstairs. And the guy's right next to him when he's yelling it out to me, who's like two fucking rooms away. So I come in, I'm like, what's the problem? So Ash takes the piss, zips up, pokes the guy in the shoulder and says, come here. And he pulls him out into the kitchen. So the party now, I'm guessing 40, 50 people are fucking surrounding us. Me and Danielle, who just got together, just got engaged, that Aaron's coming back to see us. Anyway, we're there front row. So this guy takes out a knife, a big knife, like a fucking one of those Crocodile Dundee knives. He puts it up to Ash's throat. The knife is touching the skin. I'm going like, I want to freak. And Ash grabs my hand, and puts it down by my side. He goes, settle the fuck down. Settle the fuck down. And I'm hyperventilating. I'm like, oh my God. So the guy got the thing there. Ash has got a beer bottle. He turns it right side up, smashes it over the table, puts it to the guy's throat. He says, what do you fucking think? I'm scared of that. He says, you really think? He goes, you don't even have your colors. He said, it doesn't even say HA on your jacket. You don't even have your fucking colors. And you think that they're going to be cool with you taking out an ex-Red Deer Rebel who plays in the NHL right now in Red Deer. He said, I know the way this works, buddy, and you're a chump. I swear to fuck. So, and Ash, that was pretty much the way it went down, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, the guy was in the guy was in the bathroom. He was in there I don't know who he was in there. He was trying to get laid or if he was doing whatever.
Yeah.
And I banged on the door, and he started screaming. So I went down, I took a piss, I came back upstairs, and he's out. And that's when he started fucking giving me shit, saying I was trying to mow his grass or I was doing something. So that's when I went up and I poked him on the chest, told him, hey, what the fuck you think you're talking to? Like, don't fucking, I wasn't trying to do nothing. It's like, keep your fucking mouth shut. And that's when the knife came out and to my throat, and that's when I told you to, like, settle down. You're gonna get me killed.
Well, then it nearly happened. Then Ash invites him out on the patio, boys. So we went out on the patio, and no one, like, I remember this. I would have died for you. Like, Ash is sitting there on one side, and all my buddies, God bless them, but they weren't no part of this. No one was jumping in. There was no one with any sack behind us that was going to jump into this.
Is there a fire escape in that place here?
Well, yeah, exactly. If I had a way out, but I was like, this guy was pretty.
I mean, there's only so many times you can run away from Ash.
But Ash, I just went over, but I stood behind Ash. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I swear to fuck, Ash called his fucking bluff.
I told the guy, I was like, let's put the weapons down. We'll go in the lawn right there. So let's go one-on-one battle. No weapons. Think you're that tough. I said, let's go. No. Fucking tail between his legs. The rest of the night, he was my bitch.
He was, but Ash, this
open
is,
a
boys,
beer bottle.
I don't know if you remember the last part. This is fucking true, boys. So finally, this guy was sitting in there just acting. So he finally just went in the back room, whatever he was fucking doing, blow or fucking girls, or whatever it was. Like, he didn't come out much anymore. So me and Ash are sitting there, and as we're leaving, Ash just gets just a twitch to fucking go at him again. I called us a cab. Where is he? I said, he's fucking gone. Don't worry about it. You scared the shit out of him. We went back to Danielle's place about 15 minutes away, and when we got there, I go, Ash, he was in the back room. I didn't want to say anything. Ash called a fucking cab to go back to the party. That's what I had to convince him. He got mad at me. He called a cab to go back and fucking, that's how mad he was. But he was. This guy was a bitch too. And he didn't have his colors. Now that I know what was going on, I'm like, we told that story to a few people and they're like, oh yeah, Ash knows what he's doing. I'm like, yeah. Now, I told you some of these. Go ahead.
You're up around it. You get a lot of good advice.
Yeah.
Never show your bluff.
Any word on whatever happened to that guy? Did you track him down after? Did he get his colors?
Not a clue.
I'm just picturing one of the Sutters in full coaching gear the entire time, like being a wallflower of this whole story.
Yeah, exactly. And boys, like I said, we could be here for 10 hours because that's two stories. And I'm going to ask Ash a few questions, I guess, that go back to hockey because who knows, we've been on a wild ride for 20 minutes. Some easy stuff. So Ash, yeah. Everybody breathe. Everybody breathe.
Oh, fuck.
But so
Shavasana section of the 3MI podcast.
Fuck.
Now, so some layups here, just because there are hockey fans out there that probably want to hear some hockey stuff. Ash, I know this is going to be tough.
They're not coming here for that.
I would say favorite place you played. It doesn't have to be home. Favorite like place I played. Jeez, I'm gonna have to say either Philly or Pittsburgh.
Oh,
not Gander.
I love the island, but back when I was playing, like wasn't we were struggling, but I still live here. I'm still an Islander, but
okay. Where are you living? So to update people, give us your exact address, Aaron.
I'm on Long Island still. Yeah, I'm on Long Island still, and it's tough to leave.
And what are you doing
you got
there?
Everything. You got working with the Islanders, doing some youth hockey, coaching a couple of teams, working through the NHL. It's a learn to play program, introducing the game to new kids. staying busy that way. That's all I know is hockey. So, I never went away to school, university, or any of that. So all I know is hockey. So it's keeping, trying to stay involved with that, and spending time with the wife, the kids.
And how often do you get back to Portage? I told people a little bit about your tournament, but I guess let's promo that as much as we can.
I'm actually going back in March. My daughter's playing in the provincials. So she's got the hockey thing in March. I'm going to go back to. I got a couple of native tours I'm going to do, but I go back a couple of times a year to either pick up my girls to bring them back home, or go do my golf tournament. Ronnie McLean's coming this year. It's my 15th year for my golf tournament, so it's going to be.
Well, we got to be a party. We got to make that. You brought it up, boys. If we could get out there to
podcast from the Arron's chance to play.
Right? Yeah, like I'm possibly all over. Do you got your date locked down for it yet this year, Arron?
19th of July, third Friday in July.
See, that's a problem. I'm getting married the week before that. I don't think I'm going to make it.
Well, it doesn't mean I can't come. The last time I was there, boys, it was...
Who's wearing the pants? That's the tone.
Who wouldn't want a honeymoon in Portage, man? I'm already there. I'm hitchhiking if I got to.
Hey, man, we had some good times.
World's largest Coke can.
Ash, I gotta ask you though, is just this looking at your list of teams here, we touched on this a little bit before about how you always kind of stayed Red Deer was kind of as far west as you went, and then after that all your teams were in the east. And so I'm looking though, and I'm seeing it. I mean, you played for the Islanders and the Rangers and the Devils. You played for Pittsburgh and Philly. Like, I mean, that's being on both sides of a lot of kind of intense rivalries. And I mean, being the type of player you were, where you were racking up some penalty minutes and stuff. What's it like to kind of be on both sides of those kinds of rivalries like that? Coming back and being that other guy.
Yeah, you definitely see them on both sides. Like the Islanders, Rangers back in the early 2000s, those were wars, like scrums in the warm-up, just pure hatred for each other. And same thing when I was in Montreal. I got to taste the Montreal, Ottawa. So I've been a part of a lot of good rivalries, but the hate that the Islanders and the Rangers have for each other is just.
You put that above the Flyers and the Penguins?
They're so close, but it's. I'm gonna have to go back in the early, like now it's not as it's not as intense like it used to be.
Nothing is as intense as it used to be. What was it like playing with Crosby?
I'm gonna have to go with the Islanders and Rangers, and we had some battles, but I had the same with the Pittsburgh, and it's just those games are so fun to be a part of. And
Ash, what about Crosby? Like, what did you take from that? Not everybody knows he's a good player and everything. Like on the inside, I mean, I assume this guy's a great fucking leader. No,
he's just a good fucking dude. The plain and simple.
Yeah.
Like I can text Sid right now and just say, "Hey, bud, how are things?" Blah blah blah, and he'd get back to me. He's not one of those guys where he'll see it. Oh, it's Ash. Fuck this. I'm not. Like right away, he'll be.
Well,
should ask him if he wants to do a podcast.
I never know. Funny story. Sid, we're in Florida. We're at the bar, and he's the shy guy, and he doesn't like confrontation too much. So he's like, Ash, he goes, do you want to do me a favor? I was like, sure, anything, bud. What's going on? He's like, can you walk me to the bathroom? I was like, what? He goes, can you walk me to the bathroom, please, so no one bugs me?
Wow.
I was like, okay, sure, man. So I was Sid's bitch for about 5 minutes. I walked to the bathroom, made sure no one bothered him, walked him back. Awesome. Just a great kid. Like back then, like the kid he's getting pulled from every angle, and he's just first class. He wants to win. He works the hardest.
So it's no fluke. What we're seeing on TV is just a microcosm of what the guy's like himself. I mean, I figured as much, and I've heard you, Ash, really speak highly of him. So I guess I wanted to get that out there, just so because a lot of people don't realize what it's like on the inside.
Everything you hear is true. He's even better.
And one thing I want to get to before we go, I know we're skipping over a lot of the middle of your career, but fans in Newfoundland, and I think any fan of hockey, to what would probably be interested in the fact that you came over a few years ago. For those who don't know, I try to allude to it here and there. In Newfoundland, we have a senior league that's second to none really in Canada, and it changes every year though. It's just different with the team structures and stuff. But for the most part, we're allowed imports, especially out in the western Newfoundland, where it's more in St. John's. There's a lot to do, so we don't get as many fans in here to senior. But out there, your goal is to sell it out every night, and you sell tickets and all that, and you get paid. So in 2015-16, Arron had just been done his hockey career, and was still in shape. So we used him as one of our imports. So every weekend in Gander, Newfoundland, we would fly in a few imports, one of them being Arron Asham from New York. And Ash had never really seen much of senior hockey, and it was a chance for us to get together and play it again and have a little bit of fun. But I mean, Ash, what was your view of it? I mean, we never really talk about it because I take it for granted. But did you? I mean, I know you had a good time because I had it with you. But what did you think
I
of
had
it?
a blast.
Yeah. What did you think of the hockey?
The hockey was great. I was surprised. I was surprised how how good that league was. I knew it was going to be competitive, but I didn't know it was going to be that competitive. Like that first 2 weeks, I was stuck in so much wind. like these guys were fast. They were, they took it very seriously, and I just had the best time.
It was nice.
It was great playing with TR again, and the people. I've always loved the East. Playing in Freddie, and the people are so friendly. And
you would visit here. I mean, you visited Newfoundland a few times outside of that. People don't really know, right? Ash is a veteran of Senior's Basement.
Well, I mean, I don't understand how Senior's Basement doesn't come up on people's hockey DB line. Like, I don't know, like
how many passport to get in there. How many trips to the basement?
How long it takes you to get down over the stairs? How many beers consumed?
Now, Ash, I got to make sure that TR was a great host here. When he mentioned Gander, anytime anyone mentions Gander to me, the first thing I can think of is Legends Lounge. Did anyone take you to a place called Legends?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. As long as someone brought you to Legends.
I hit every place there.
Deadly.
Friends,
every night.
Friends, Legends.
Is it
Legends
Tomcats
wings,
is one?
man.
And it was a good little rivalry. By the way, Ash, hats off to Brad Lewis for dropping his gloves, but Grand Falls was sold out. Ash gave them what they wanted to see. He scored a lot of points. Ash, if he didn't miss games, he would have probably led the league in scoring. He missed half the year. By the way, side note, and a serious note, Ash's brother Curtis, who was a great fella in a lot of ways, that embraced me a few times. I went out there. He passed away of a fentanyl overdose. So there's like I said, there's never a dull moment with Ash. He's had a hard time here and there growing up, but he finds out. Not just growing up. I mean, Ash is from a tough place. Don't get me wrong and think it's disadvantaged, because that's not what I'm saying. But they're tough people, and a lot of it when you're in Portage and you meet the people, they're great. And Curtis was one of those guys, and just wrong place, wrong time. A lot of people probably would have, had the same fate happen to them. But we remember him in positive way, obviously. But Arron was in Gander when that happened, man. Jeez. You know what I mean? It was halfway through the yeah. I mean, you can talk about that if you want. I just brought it up because.
Terrible. It's just drug addict, and he. I don't know if it was an overdose or if it was a suicide. He was what you say. He was a professional.
Well,
he knew what he was doing. But I actually talked to him the night before, and he was talking gibberish. He was saying he was done, and I wish I would have taken it a little bit more serious. But the next day I got the call, and poor bugger.
I'm sorry to. I always have been. I mean, it really strikes home because I met Curtis early on, and this is why, guys. We went a little bit off the rails with this interview, but now do you see what I mean? Sometimes, leaders just aren't born. You got to go through these things. Now you understand why Aaron's good at working with kids. You understand what I'm saying, right? It's no fluke he does it with the Islanders. It's no fluke he does it with Chance to Play, because these are real shit that goes down. You won't hear about it often, right? But these are real shit. Aaron's willing to talk about it, and I think that says a lot for who he is and why he fucking played so long. And if there's anybody out there that can donate to any foundation, Aaron's Chance to Play. It's a great thing. I've been out there, and each time I go out to the tournament, it gives me goosebumps. It brings me to tears. The thanks. There's people in the WHL now. What?
Yeah, it's awesome. We're we help almost 50 kids a year, so it's good. We're giving them we're giving them a chance. So that's what I had a lot of help from the community. A lot of people helped me out through my career. My parents tried raising 4 boys, 4 hellions. So everyone needs help, and that's why we started this. And we're going to try to keep this going as long as we can. And we're on our 15th year. I'm sure TR, you're going to come down. I got Ronnie McLean coming down. Trying to get the Trailer Park boys to come down.
I'll be there this summer, 100%.
Yeah, it's going to be a big bash. So hopefully we keep this going.
Yeah, and I mean, after what you said earlier about getting that ride up to La Paz, and not knowing where you'd be if you didn't yourself have that chance to play, it really does hit home and show how getting that opportunity and getting that chance can really. It can really define somebody and really, put them on a different path. And so it is. Exactly. It's great to hear how you're using that now to kind of give back and try to give that chance to other kids. And it's fantastic. And thank you for doing it. And congratulations on the success of the organization.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you. Yeah, it's good.
If we could go on forever, Ash and I, and we'll probably have him as a recurring guest.
I would obviously we'd love that.
Especially
That'd
close
be great.
to the chance to play tournament, because we really got to try to get as much money as we can together. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's my favorite charity in the world, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to end right here. If you guys got any questions, you can go ahead. This will just be called Arron Asham Volume 1.
Yeah, Volume 1 for
I like
sure.
the sound of that.
I appreciate having me on.
Well, I mean, I know normally Charles, the last couple of weeks when with guests, we've had Charles kind of set up a game or something for him. But this time we just kind of wanted to sit back and let you and TR go because we kind of knew what we were in for. I thought I knew what I was in for. I didn't understand quite how many stories of guys in vests without shirts would be popping up.
Chaos.
But it's been
crazy. Yeah, those guys seem to follow me around.
which is why the whole idea of like taking off and going up to Portage La Prairie with you guys, I'm a little bit sketched on now after hearing what happens when you guys hang out. I don't need any shit pulled.
I'll get on stage and sing again.
Yeah, I don't need anybody else bringing a knife to a beer bottle fight, guys. Like,
no.
I don't know. I'd go there. It seems like he knows. I trust him. Seems like he knows his way around what happens.
Fuck yeah.
I wouldn't be that scared.
Yeah, we're all old and married with kids, and now we're not. There's no fighting going on here except getting up and going to the washroom. That's about it.
There's shirts on under every vest now.
Exactly.
But we will hear some more stories next time you're on, Arron. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks. One of my best buddies in the game, and this is the reason. And I think one of the best leaders, not only in hockey, guys, but to any young kid, because everything we talk about is real, man, and people ignore it. But Ash had a real upbringing, and he's helping people, and I'm really proud of that. So thanks, buddy. And you guys got anything else to say?
Ash, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem, guys. Good luck, and we'll talk soon.
All right, we'll chat again
summer.
soon. Thanks so much.
No problem, guys.
Wow, that was intense. Thank you so much to Arron Asham for coming on and chatting to us. TR, of course, thanks for getting your buddy to do that. That was incredible.
Oh, no problem. Like I said, guys, I think his story got to be heard. For oftentimes, now you see what I mean. So the coach, Rick Carrier, for example, Michelle Therrien and Freddie, like they would prefer that I would stay with Arron because they knew that I liked to have a good time as well. But I wasn't a guy to stay out after curfew. I wasn't the guy to get in bar fights. I was the guy that maybe had too many beers, do some Jello shots off a belly button, get up on stage and sing a fucking song. You know what I mean? Like if I was out, everybody in town, whatever town I was in, knew it. But I could space it out, and I might go out once a week. I'd have beers every time. It was like about hanging out with the boys or picking up women. That's what it was at the time.
I mean, right? I know. I mean, I can say from experience, the first time me and TR met was, I think I was 19. It was Salmon Fest weekend. We were in Jeremy Hart's basement singing Jim Croce songs till fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. That's or me. Something. Wow. Yeah.
Whereas Arron, Aaron's in where he grew up a little. I mean, I grew up saucy as the black, but like Ash grew up. It's a Newfoundland saying.
That's a Newfoundland saying for black Catholic, by the way. It's not what you think for those outside of the island.
Let's get that one clear.
It's a black Catholic, yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about it like that, guys. See, so clearly, it's not
a Newfoundland term.
It's a Newfoundland term. So but I grew up and I skipped a grade, so I often got picked on being that guy that was, in the papers and stuff, like as a kid. But that was different. I wasn't silver spoon, but my parents had decent jobs. Like, I never hurt for money. My grandfather built our house. I never really remember having any hard time other than hard time that I picked for myself. For Arron, he grew up, man, the odds were against him the whole time. And not only that, like, if he got into it, but your family loves each other, but there's only so much food, and you got 3 brothers, and the first going to get that, there's always, I'm not saying they fought and they didn't have food, but there's always going to be that level of competition. And in the town that he was in, with the things that he was exposed to, and just drugs, not only drugs, like drug dealers, and within his extended family, and the things that Dad said, don't pick up that joint, Terry. Arron saw coke when he was like 8. So like, there's a different thing, and I'm not saying that they all did it or anything. I just mean he grew up fucking tough. So when he moves on and sees, education, man, you travel the world. I think travel is the best education. And as he starts to grow into who Arron Asham really is, and I was there for that timeline, and I saw that evolution. He becomes a guy who just totally sees what he probably missed, and if I could have only done this, and when you go out there, guys, it'll give you goosebumps. The people come to the tournament that play now in the WHL and maybe now graduated to pro, but there's lots of people that are successful that I met at his golf tournament just because, they had the gear to play that he gave back to them. And it's not like this guy is like Sidney Crosby and the money they made. You look at it, and people don't realize this either. What did Ash make? 700,000, 800,000, 900,000. I don't think he made $1 million. Maybe 1 year, maybe. But like what I'm saying is that, my signing bonus in Montreal was just over $1 million. I only got 36% of that. 58%'s gone to tax. 4% is to your agent. 2% to my financial advisor. Mm-hmm. So I got 36% of it. I'm not saying fucking cry for me, cry me a river. But when it's
36% of that is still $360,000.
It is.
Yeah.
But when you're in the NHL and say you're on an $800,000 deal or $750, right?
Yeah.
And you're married and you're divorced and you got kids in Manitoba and you also got them in New York and you got to live the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Like I remember showing up to my first game in a tip-top tailor suit and Lyle Odeline said, "Don't ever show up here in that again." Now the next game I went back and I had snakeskin boots on. The next game I went back and there was a Hugo Boss suit in my stall with the shirt, with the cufflinks, with everything. He said, "Now that's your fucking suit, and that's bottom level. Like you come in with something like that on every time, you're representing the Montreal Canadiens in the National Hockey League." So that's the difference. And
none of
when
this
you go
off
out on
the
the
rack
road,
bullshit for
don't
the Habs,
even walk into A&W.
Yeah.
We're going to Mort's Steakhouse tonight with the boys. This is what we're going to do.
Which is kind of that, like what you and Teddy talked a bit about that last week, about like it's going out with the boys.
Totally.
A very big part of that culture. It
totally is, but you've got money for a little bit of extravagance. I'm not saying feel bad for Arron Asham, but I'm saying the money after you think, that you the lifestyle, it's not like he has all kinds of money to put into himself. He works hard to raise this money, and he raises a lot, enough apparently to put 50 kids a year through. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's
and he's
fantastic.
involved in other things. That's just his portage.
Yeah.
In minor hockey in Long Island, he's a big part of the Learn to Play program. And anyway, I could go on and on. Doesn't take much to please Ash, man. As long as he's got a salary that keeps him comfortable and his kids happy, he's fine, and he just helps others.
That's fantastic. And I mean, it's such a great chance to talk to him and hear those great stories about your time coming up through in Red Deer and in Fredericton and Gander and Montreal and all that stuff. I just can't. I was expecting a lot. I still wasn't expecting that, man. That was incredible, and I cannot wait to have him back on the show and chat to him some more. That was great. I don't know how to follow that up.
And you know what's funny? We didn't even get to the Beagle Punch.
My God!
We didn't talk.
Oh no!
We also didn't talk about the Skittles commercial.
But I guess if we're going to leave out anything, because I'm thinking he got asked that before. I don't listen to Arron on doing his interviews much, or how many he does, but I'm assumed he was asked it. But you wanted that.
Oh, we'll get him back. I could. We'll get him back.
We didn't even think about it. What does that say? We didn't even think about it until now.
We were 45 minutes in.
I had goosebumps like most of the time he was talking, though. I was like, wow, this guy is not only just hockey tough, this is the most life toughened guy.
That's so. I'm telling you, I learned from him. You think?
Wow.
You think? I'd often say, I think I got it hard. And again, that's why we're both prospects in this organization, that there's pressure on you, there's money coming at you, there's, if you haven't heard, temptation from every level. So we needed each other, and I really did, man. Sometimes I'd go trip over my bottom lip And then I'd go visit Arron in Portage and, see how, from both sides, see how hard he had it at times, but like his family are so giving and nice and they're not like this elite family or anything. And you go meet them and immediately they'll do anything for you. And even though, like he said, some of his extended family might have some trouble with the law, even his brothers at points, but at no point did they separate that. Like, you'd go out there and they, this is Terry Ryan and he's Aaron's friend. He picks up for Arron. He's Aaron's friend. And then you're one of them.
You're in,
and
yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. They've always treated me great, and I've got nothing, obviously, but good to say about the Asham family.
All fantastic. I can wonder right now is who went down quicker, the guy in a vest with no shirt or Jay Beagle. That's all I can think. That's all.
Well, you can ask him the next time we have him on the show.
He told that story fairly modestly even. That's how bad the guy went straight fucking down. On the way down, he hit his jaw off the stool. He got worse. It was an absolute, and I was coming out of the bathroom. I just went there and I came back and I remember Higgy was arguing and whatever it was the craziest sight that these eyes had seen up to that point.
And quickly back into the bathroom and down the fire escape.
I'm fucking serious too. I jumped.
But I like how at the second time you stuck around because you get one of those. You get one of those. My buddy has a weapon pulled on him, and I'm gonna bail. Like the second time, you gotta stick around.
Well, and even the first time I had the sense of like, even Ash did like the first, even though like he's strong enough and he'd been through it and he didn't show fear. I'm sure he was a bit scared. I mean, we were kids. And not only that, boys, we did our workout. So we got to the rink early. You don't want to be it's one thing regular season. It was playoffs. So like you go to the rink early. You do your workout. Right, you go in, at some point you're in the way. So we'd often go across the street and watch from Moe's or go to Cheers even and have a beer. No one really asked, but if you, okay, whatever, out of sight, out of mind. But if they found out you were fighting the fucking rock machine at the fucking Super Sex, it wouldn't be cool, right? Like, that would not be cool. We couldn't even disappear in the right way. Fucking Ash knocking out fucking gangsters.
Wow. How do you follow that, Mike?
Oh yeah, man.
With a hashtag hot take.
Oh, we're gonna take it to the tweets.
Take it to the tweets. We got a couple this week that we wanted to chat about. One, and both again fall under our strict leafless week policy we're going with. So the first one is coming from @BradBurn. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but I know that it was regarding the home field advantage that the Montreal Canadiens get.
Oh, I'm gonna have to flame you here for home field first. Come on, more or less.
I was just using the term.
Brad over on the Twitter, he brought up the fact that no team gets as much of a advantage to the Bell Center Bluebirds or the home ice Bluebirds as the Montreal Canadiens late in the game. And I think he might have been brought up with what he called, or what I call at least, the curse of the delayed arm, in which you hear the rain of boos and then that delayed arm goes up later. So, I mean, I didn't exactly think this was a hot take until I brought it up, and my roommate went bananas, like Gwen Stefani, BANANAS at the premise.
Well,
and what do you guys think?
Well, let's talk to somebody who's played in Montreal.
I didn't notice that. So you could make a case then that the ghosts of the form are merely scientific. It's just logic. There's more penalties than it's not really any ghosts. It's just that you get more bounces because there's more power plays. I'm just wondering because I never heard that stat before.
Yeah.
I can't say it surprises me, but I don't know where I thought would have a home ice. Like if you asked me, I'm not sure which team I would pick. It's understandable even on a subconscious level because of there's the most Bluebirds there. So
well, I also swear by
they're booing the rep.
Yeah, fuck. But I also swear by that in the big four sports, the big four North American sports, there is no one person, and this can speak a lot to who holds this position currently. There's no one person in the big four sports who takes as much heat and pressure as the starting goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens. And I think that those Bluebirds, let's not forget, what was it? In the exhibition of 2010, the year the Bruins won the Cup, during an exhibition preseason game, they almost booed Carey Price off the ice.
That led to my favorite quote of a hockey player in my lifetime, where Carey Price in preseason, he literally just told everyone to chill out. That was... I think about that twice a week to this day, 10 years later.
And I mean,
Tri-City American too. Shout out Tri-City Americans, my junior team. Carey Prices, keep going.
and so it's that. I think it's that Montreal crowd is so loud. They are so intense. They are so into it. It has obviously an effect on the players. It has an effect on referees. Is the premise of this hot take.
I will mention this after my roommate had cooled down from what I thought wasn't that hot of a take. After he had cooled down, he looked at the stats and got eerily quiet.
Well,
like eerily, and there is numbers-wise, especially in the third period, as Brad had mentioned, there is number-wise a slight bump above the average for the stats getting.
Now,
PP
I will
chances.
say something. Not to be devil's advocate again. Actually, no, just to have a debate.
Yeah.
So is another thing that come into it. What's their team structure? They all reel fast, and they do draw a lot of penalties. They don't take a lot because they don't have a lot of toughness.
And historically, that's been the makeup of the Montreal Canadiens. It's the style of team they like to ice. Yeah.
If the Philadelphia Flyers, if you told me they take the most penalties over the last 30 years, I wouldn't be surprised. It was just the personnel they pick.
Yeah.
So if you tend to take guys who are rocket fast, not much in the way of, if they had more Shaws, it would probably be different. I'm not even saying they need it. The game's changed. But that could be one of it. And, another thing, guys, if there's one thing you see about being not only a first-round pick of the Canadiens, but, playing there for even a little bit, in the middle of the summer when there's nothing going on, there's 6 pages in the Journal, dedicated to the Canadiens. There's every day after practice,
It's just scrutiny.
Come out to practice. There's honestly more reporters at a practice there than lots of senior games I play now, and I mean over 100. You think of the big ones, right? Obviously, you got your RDS, you got your Sportsnet, you got all that shit. But then there's every little one. Then there's each of these places sends 4 and 5 people, and someone's doing a feature, and they got to argue with each other who's doing the feature on what day on what. And within Montreal itself, outside of all that, are all the papers, right? Then you got the Gazette, who don't go to town with it, but they're the number one story. It could be the fucking Alouettes could win the fucking CF for the Grey Cup. It wouldn't matter. And then you got the Journal, and I mean that's crazy. And La Presse, is it?
La Presse.
So
that's the third
you
one,
open up those, and there's often 40 pages in the middle on the Canadiens.
Can we also just say that La Presse sounds less like an actual newspaper in Montreal and more like the fake newspaper in a Pepe Le Pew.
I was thinking like a Bond movie.
They open up a thing and it just says La Presse.
One of my favorite stories. Montreal
is.
Montreal is. It's just it doesn't stop. One of my favorite stories. A good friend of mine. I was in the city just as training camp was starting when Pete Boudin was backing up Carey Price, and I was in the city. We went out.
Former St. John's Ice Cap.
Former St. John's Ice Cap. That's where I'm going with this. And I was myself, and we went out for a bite to eat. It's the middle of the afternoon, and we get talking, obviously. We get talking Leafs and Habs, and we had no idea, but Pete Boudin is sitting right next to us. So we're in our own little world, chatting away, and we're talking about, training camp rosters and all this stuff, and I just get a glimmer of people coming up to a fella sitting next to me in droves, just one after another, after another, after another. And I'm like, geez. And so I gather, and I turn and look, and I was like, oh, okay, well. And then I saw that it was Pete Boudin, and I was like, I am very sorry. I did not know you were sitting here. Would you care if, we're talking about, obviously, what you hear and have to be subject to every day. It's would you care, I can move, we can move to another table or anything like that? And he was like, no. He said, you know what, we can shut it off. I appreciate you for offering. We don't always get that. And Pete Boudin, God love him, he showed us his favorite drink on the menu and got the three of us around. I don't know, 5 months later, he's playing in the Ice Caps. I never ran into him here, but he just more or less said, he's like, you guys there's nothing you're saying that I haven't possibly heard before I get out of bed in the morning.
If you go through it makes you mentally tougher, there's no doubt. Yeah. Right, there's no doubt. And, another thing, what I was alluding to is, I guess, I made it kind of personal, but I was talking about there's a hype. So with that hype and with so much interest and with such a buzz in town about hockey, comes, you get that feeling at the rink. And usually the Boo Birds, man, you'll be surprised, man. I've seen them. I was up there. I remember them doing it to Patrice Brisebois, 2 years after he won a Stanley Cup. He's French. I mean, who the fuck are they going to... And they were all over him. They were booing. And when you really look, it's not everybody. It's not even really a third of them. And you can take... idiots that start, and then some people just do it because it's cool to do. But for the most part, if you talk to a real Habs fan, they might be real passionate, but they're not going to. I know it sounds crazy because you hear it on TV, but man, I had to search for them. They were ignorant, a lot of them that did it. They were just doing it for, they were passing fans. A real Habs fan loves
just edgelords and trolls.
Yeah,
A real
the
Habs
empty
fan
can
loves
does
Carey
rattle the
Price.
most. You know,
Right,
what
you
I
go
mean?
out and you go out in that town still, guys. If I go to Gibby's or something, I got my wine scene in Gavino's, places I go, and I still like, and I go back there here and there, and they treat me like gold. And I failed that franchise in the right in the fucking looking at right in the face, and I walked out on them, and I did a lot of things that they don't have to do that. But in the end, they respect the Montreal Canadian. And most Canadians fans are loyal. And, I complain sometimes about getting requests on Facebook and shit, but I wouldn't be me. If I played for the Columbus Blue Jackets or something, I probably wouldn't be here doing this right now. It gave me, a feather in my hat to play with that organization. And I got to be honest, there can't be much better fans. I know that you hear about the pressures, but they're awesome, man.
We got time for one more?
I think at this point,
we
who's
can
going
put
to
a toe
stop
in the
us?
water here. My next one comes from it's a take on the Sun over. This comes from Rick City, and we're going to spin into what just TR was saying about fans. The Sun released. Yeah, here we go. The Sun released. Is it the Sun or is it?
It's Sun Sports. Yeah, Toronto
They
Sun.
released this giant full-page spread of the Calgary Flames looking sharp in their third jerseys, which are some of the best jerseys in sport, and it says Canada's team with a big question mark there.
And the C in Canada is, of course, the Flames
Absolutely.
logo.
That was my best Ron Burgundy there. Canada's team?
You go up on who put the question mark on the headline, guys?
Essentially, Rick City feels that there is no such thing as Canada's team, that you follow a team, and if they're Canadian, once they're out of the playoffs, you're not cheering for another team to win the cup just because they're Canada. I agree to that in a stance. What do you guys think?
I think it's totally it's a really non-starter. It's all opinion. Because you don't have to attach yourself to one or the other. Some people think one thing and some people think the other. For me, it's a population thing. All the teams that are the most popular come from the places that are most populated, and that's science. If the Calgary, came out of it, or Vancouver, I'm not really deeply attached to either team, but I would cheer for them because I'm in Canada. I want it as a hockey fan, but I could understand if my buddy didn't. I just think it's a totally subjective viewpoint.
Well, for me, it's a weird one because I am a Canadian who cheers for an American team. Like, I'm a Boston Bruins fan. Yeah.
TR's drinking from a Boston mug here.
I did it just to fuck with him. I gave him a cup of coffee and a Bruins mug. But I'm somebody who, I distinctly remember, the Bruins playing the Habs and friends being like, but you got to root for Montreal. I'm like, no, but I'm a Boston fan. I physically can't bring myself to do that. But they're like, no,
there's levels of fan.
But it's a Canadian team. You got to want the Canadian team to win the cup. I'm like, no, I'm a Bruins fan. When the Bruins are out of the race, and I'm picking my new horse to kind of follow and jump on the bandwagon through the playoffs. I will definitely give any team who's not the Habs some serious weight.
Well, you see,
wait, that is it. But
plus, what's a Canadian team? Anaheim won it in 2008 or 9 or whatever it was with fucking 20 Canadians.
Yeah, the
on it.
record of Canadians come from California.
It's that thing of I know there's people who it's been since that 93 Habs team. There no Canadian team has put their name on the Stanley Cup.
I will say this. I just cut you off.
Well, no, I was just going to say that it took us 3 episodes as well. But we were fully it's that thing where Charles cut me off and now I can't think of what the fuck I wanted to say. But it's people think that it's Canada's game, and as much as the NHL is no longer as built by Canadians as it was, you're seeing the hockey landscape change drastically. Players are coming from all over the place, and it's really spread out.
We're gonna have to get used to that.
And and we're not as dominant in you're not seeing Canada succeed the same way in international. Even the U.S. team, women's team, where Kendall Coyne skated last night, they won the gold medal. They beat Canada. It was considered an upset, but we got to really accept the fact that the rest of the world is getting good at hockey. And even if a lot of these players are from Canada, and a lot of teams are probably still predominantly Canadian players. it's still the sort of thing of I'd like to see Winnipeg win a cup.
Oh yeah,
I'd love to see Winnipeg. I'd love to see Calgary win a cup. I'd love to see Edmonton just manage to douse out the dumpster fire. I'd love I'd love to see
He's
I'm
not
more than
saying
anything-
Montreal, guys. He's
again,
not saying Montreal.
Again, more than anything, I'd like to see McDavid, Marner, and company.
There's
I
so
keep
many
going to-
great-
I want to see. I'd rather see them in a fucking Canada jersey. There's where my Canadian allegiance comes in. It's when if I can see them in a fucking World Cup or an Olympics. Now here's my Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm cheering for Canada.
Yeah.
Now don't give me any
It's-
reason to cheer. That's my fandom right there. As far as the NHL, there's just such loose ties with everybody. I guess this year we're going to pick James the Real Deal Neal, buddy of mine. I hope the fuck he lights it up in the second half and Calgary come out on top. But everybody's got their own reasons. You know what I mean?
I got to tell you, it hasn't really sunk in yet, and for me, and probably for a lot of people, that we're probably not going to get to see Connor McDavid in his pro prime play for his country because of.
That's what's pissing me off more than anything.
And that every now and then that sinks in on me. It's like, wow, we had all these greats. We had obviously we saw Sid do it, Mario, Gretzky.
I mean, we're not going to get Connor McDavid is not going to get his golden goal moment the way Sid did. That feels
exactly.
like and seeing as he's not going to likely get. We're not going to get to see him play for Canada in his prime, and we're probably not going to get him to see him play for a cup contender in his prime.
And now now think about it. For me, I was 10 years old in 1987. That for me, Gretzky to Lemieux with that team, I don't all the Stanley Cups. Yeah, it was great to watch, and my team was the Habs. 86 was a great year, and 93, and we all saw that. And, to see Lanny McDonald with the cup, I'll never forget, in Calgary in 89, it was just so great, and he was so passionate. But I swear to fuck, none of it comes close to watching Mario Lemieux go bare fucking down in the 1987 Canada Cup. And and seeing those guys for the country, it was something special. That's what I got led. I was allowed up, as a kid to watch that, and a lot of people... whereas if it was the Stanley, it's a 4 out of 7. Maybe they'll win it tonight, maybe they won't.
Yeah.
I love the Stanley Cup. Now, don't get me wrong, but my major memories of these guys, even as growing up, Henderson was, it was driven into your head like it should have been. Is such a big moment, and all those, and Sid the Kid and Mario Lemieux letting the pass go.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Those are huge memories, and if we can't see the best. I just see it as a window of opportunity completely lost, and fuck the All-Star game and all that shit that comes with it if we can possibly get these guys to represent their countries again.
And I'm 100% on board with that. And I think it was kind of touched on last week. Charles pointed out that, as much as we're concerned about this lockout, the World Cup being canceled, all this stuff, the next Winter Olympics are 2022.
It's in China, and the NHL,
China, and the NHL wants that market.
We were talking
about globalization there. It's coming to China.
They're
even Australia,
banging on that door. I can't see.
And Nagano, that Asian market, Nagano was the first time they let the NHLers back in, in the Olympics in '98.
Remember
that. Let's just hope that's what we're going for.
You guys I remember where I was when Canada lost to Nagano. I was in a little cul-de-sac, Shea Street parking. Was where I can remember this was. Yeah, and that's because those games were in the middle of the afternoon or the evening.
Well, yeah, because that ridiculous time.
Anyway, we were all hanging around on bikes. I had a blue. It's when bullhorns came out on the pedal bikes.
I just it was it's so wild I remember it too.
That was the moment. I remember more dates due to international goals and losses and significant events than I do Stanley Cup. I'd have to go, in 94 the Rangers won, but I fucking know in 87 who won, right? I know Nagano, I know.
But it's also that thing of we talk about hockey as a unifier on this podcast a bit. We talked about it a bunch about what we're trying to do with we bring people who are players and broadcasters and musicians and actors and talk about the game as a unifier. And the thing is that when you have the Stanley Cup final or you have, whatever game through the playoffs or the season or whatever it is, and you got a bunch of guys or a bunch of people in a room, and some of them are going for one team, some of them are going for the other, some of them have no horse in the race and are just watching the game because of whatever, and that's all well and good. But when you get the Olympics or the World Cup or the World Juniors, and that's kind of the thing with the World Juniors is why I think it is become so big, is because it is a point to see these guys who are going to be the best get that chance to play for their country. It's that thing of everybody in that room is going for the same team, and they're united, and everybody is there with that same level of fandom and just want Canada to win.
I can remember getting a day off school because of the 2002 Canadian Olympic team. I can remember principal of LCC in Lab City, Harry Lacosta. Boom, day off school.
That's
Like I can remember that like it was yesterday.
So then, again, it's all opinion. But so what's bigger? So if you're now if we narrow it down and say, okay, well, clearly, if we're judging on memories and specific dates, then international is bigger. Okay, so if international is bigger, why are we doing our best to get away from it here? Like, so I think at the very least, you got to have every 4 years. And then the window, let's just say they get in to the Olympics in 22.
Yeah.
Then McDavid's 26. If they don't, and they go, well, we missed this one, the next one, now he's 30.
Yeah.
Like, it's 4 fucking years. You got to get on this and straighten the fucking thing out. And if you're not in on 22, give us a World Cup next year and go at that every 4 years. But we can't miss these window of opportunities for these unbelievable players.
Especially for something that's, a bargaining chip, more or less. I know player insurances always come into the, the CBA and the bargaining chips and stuff like that. That's always a big one. But, like, if you ask any of these fellas, hey, would you waive whatever you have to waive to haul on that jersey? Man, they're there. I think I would be shocked. Yes, I would be shocked if someone's like, I don't know, if I break my foot playing for my country, it might set me back, and I'm on a contract.
I think any kid, I think any kid growing up in any country, the idea of putting on that jersey, whatever it is, whether it's Canada, whether it's the U.S., whether it's Denmark, whether it's
Danes.
whether it's Kazakhstan. They want to put on that country's jersey just as much as they want to put on an NHL one.
Shout out to Nick Andropov for Kazakhstan there.
And a gold medal is right there. I think a lot of them would probably put the Stanley Cup, because it's it's an 82 game season. It's 4 rounds of best of 7. It's hard fought, and it's hard.
You need to get to the NHL first. It's rare to see someone grow up and go, well, I want to play for the Olympic team, because then you're just assuming that you're already in the NHL. I think it's just a subconscious goal setting thing. Once you get there, everybody wants to do it, but it almost seems unrealistic until it's a step.
But I mean, it's also that thing of like the NHL seems like such a more attainable goal. There's more players in the NHL, so there's more teams. There's more players. There's all those things, and then once every 4 years, you get a chance for your entire country's pool of players to pick 25 guys, and you want to be one of those 25 guys. So I think, for that way, it's that thing of like, you want to play for Canada, but at the same time, you understand that it's not as it's weird in that the Stanley Cup is somehow more obtainable as a goal, because it's like,
though, I didn't grow up thinking I want to win the Stanley Cup. I grew up saying I want to play one game in the National Hockey League, and then it'd go from there. I don't know. And I'll be honest, I didn't hear anybody say that. Even as I got older, and like guys like Arron, and as we're going to camps and everything, I never heard one person say, I'm sure it must faintly exist, but it's the same thing. It's the same argument. Like, if I'm going to win the Stanley Cup, that means I must first have skated on the NHL ice with NHLers and contributed. And I think that's where your head is.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the idea of, like, when you're a kid and you're out on the street and you're shooting at an empty net or whatever, and you're doing your play-by-play. It's Game 7. It's overtime. Cup's on the line.
Especially,
and that's what it is.
Especially now, because there's no fucking international competition. But when there was, I guarantee you, in 1988, I was going, no, I want to win the Canada Cup.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it was any, but I'm just saying, bring something like that to the stage, and now we'll see it. In 2011, I bet there was a lot of kids saying, fuck, I'm going to hoist the Olympic trophy, because of Crosby. So, but I agree with you, though. I know, whenever the Stanley Cup is such the traditional field. Basically, I love both, and it's, again, totally subjective. But right now, we don't have one. So I just prefer to have both. And just like for the majority of my lifetime anyway, we did, and you just much like the All-Star game and watching a girl skate faster than some NHLers. She would have won the competition in 3 or 4 years. That was amazing last night. But so is the international competition, and I'd just as soon see it. I think there's a room for both. again, we're talking every 4 years, figure out a way to either do the Olympics or a World Cup.
Yeah, we want international best on best hockey.
Yes.
That's what it all boils down to.
This is our letter to league officials to figure it out.
Please,
figure it the fuck out.
Please figure your shit out.
I will say this. Now, it's not like I'm hanging around with fellas that have won both a Stanley Cup ring and a gold medal a lot, but I will say this. When fellas are out of the game and fellas are talking about the highlights of their career, and if they are lucky enough to have done both, they're going to bring up the international play first.
Oh, yeah.
110%.
You know, that's an interesting... And you know what? Maybe one day, I got a few on my mental Rolodex, as you spoke of before. I do have a few people in that position that I could get a hold of.
Yeah.
And maybe we will. Some people with interesting takes that have seen it from both sides. You keep screaming at me, Ali Frady, because he played internationally, and he's just a legend and a great interview.
But I also chirped his hair last night on Twitter, so...
It doesn't matter. He'll love that.
Yeah, saw the clip of...
Get him a free weekend fishing up north in Nain. He'll love that.
Yeah, they had the clip of when he won the first hardest shot competition.
Oh, yeah.
And he had this halfway down his back mullet with the comb over. It was intense. Yeah.
Half his hair looked like it was made of bulldog steel wool.
Al is an interesting guy. I got to know him through the alumni games and tours that we go on. And
is he coming down for hometown hockey?
He'll be down here for
the Hockey Heroes.
He's down here for that.
Okay. No, hopefully
we went to Labrador last year, and he just loved it. He's a big outdoorsman. We went to Nain. We played an alumni tour. So I often, like these alumni, I get to go on. I never get asked to go to Vegas because there's a lineup of like Hall of Famers. But whenever they're going to like up north and wherever some guys will
whenever
take
it's
break,
rural Labrador,
whenever
it's
I get to Moncton once in a while. But the Labrador trip, we went to Natwashish, Nain, Lab City, Goose Bay. That might have been it. We played an outdoor game once over by Churchill, but I've gone up there a couple times.
That's
now Al
crazy.
is big into that. Trache comes up. It's a good following. Don Sweeney came up with us last year. I mean, and he's got a pretty big job with the Bruins, but it's interesting because a lot of these guys use it as kind of a vacation getaway.
Yeah.
And when we go to these places, we sell all these tickets, and half of it goes to us getting around to be able to do this, and the other half, roughly, goes to local charities, and then we sell jerseys and we do all sorts of things like that. And so it's generally a boost. So we see a lot of. I've often thought there should be some kind of documentary on it, because when we see these places, Natwashish, for example, used to be Davis Inlet. I work with kids up there, and for the most part, it has this the feeling is melancholy. It's often like, but it's a negative kind of blanket. But when we go there, man, all we see is kids' eyes light up. We see role models right in the process. It's amazing. And then you'll go back the next year and you'll hear, well, Tommy ended up watching the NHL and he saw, Al, that you used to have the hardest shot and now he wants the hardest shot. You can see just by doing it. And, that's why often we get to these places that maybe need the help more than anywhere else. But anyway, for the guys that go on those, because they don't get paid a lot, man, they get paid enough to go around and finish the trip. I have Frady, Dale Howardchuk, Gary Lehman comes on almost every one. Brian Trache. Anyway, shout out to the boys, because these guys don't need to do it. They're legends. They could send up fourth line nobodies like myself, and the kids would be just as happy. They can't believe that NHLers want to go up there. But when like Brian Trache shows up, it's wild. And we play a local team, right?
That's great.
The local team puts something together, and
Oh, that's fantastic.
Hard to believe Ella Frady running around on the same ice surface I was the score clock keeper at Lab City.
Oh, dude.
Well, boys, on that note of Charles noting that he was a score clock keeper.
Gave myself a concussion doing that too, eh?
Oh,
slipped and fell. Went down hard.
On that note, again, thank you to our sponsor, Head Check Health. And we will, of course, be back next week. TR, do you, we had some talk who were trying to line up for next week. I don't know if it's locked yet.
Yeah,
so
I got a couple of ideas. I'm looking
feelers
at
out.
maybe some entertainers.
Yeah, we've talked about that. We talked about having some non-hockey people. So we're looking at one of those for next week. We'll make that announcement. Keep an eye on our social media stuff at 3MI. So you may see that by the time you're hearing it. So thanks again so much to Arron Asham for coming out and hopping on the phone with us and chatting to us there for a while. And thank you guys for listening. In the meantime, you can find Mr. Chuck Pickett
At Smokes Indoors on all of the social media platforms.
Mr. Terry Ryan.
I am at Terry Ryan 20 on Twitter, at Terry Ryan 2020 on Instagram. And yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, leave him alone on Facebook. Stop asking for tickets. And I'm at Hickey, Mike on all of them. You can find us at 3MI Podcast everywhere you're listening or following or whatever. And thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. And we'll check back with you next week. See ya.
Worst crowd, yeah. Why do you hang around with the worst crowd? The worst crowd.